good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I wholeheartedly offer whatever suits your time zone. More importantly, I say blue morning because it's another blue morning show. And today I am happy to have my friend Harry in the house and also Stav in the house. Both men who know the club very well, know that understands the situation very well. So it will be a very good discussion for us on the panel and to you guys in the chat. So let's get into it. Yes, people, it's another Blue Morning show, and Blue Morning to all the people in the chat. I have Anique Damatine, I have Frizzle, I have Tobago, and also GUV 1905. Nick Blue is also there. The Mikel Ateta Talk. I welcome you all back to the Blue Morning show. So, Harry, I'll start with you. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, all good. I'm already a little bit bored of the sort of international break that's coming up, but yeah, it was a good performance yesterday, and it was nice just to actually just focus on the football for a little bit. But yeah, all good. It's sunny here for a change as well, so it's all good.
To me, I'd say it was an excellent performance, one that is needed because every winner will do us, the fans, a world of good. So I appreciate that win so much. I do. I know Stav especially appreciates that win so much because he says he has a lot of Middlesbrough fans that will do that will deal with him had we lost that game. Stav, how are you doing today? I'm guessing you're better today given that we won.
Yep, I'm spot on. Total silence up from Middlesbrough. Nobody's bothered giving me any comments. That's not to say that I didn't give them some. So, but yeah, and the birthday boy scored as well.
Yeah, and you reminded us to wish him a happy birthday in the show, on the show, and thank you for reminding us what the birthday will be for him, and that was such a delicious goal. I know you asked me not to describe goals with the word delicious, but that's how I love to say it. So, but can you accept that today? At least we won.
Yeah, I think he's a contender for goal of the month again. There with that goal.
Deservedly
and he's won 2 in a row already.
Yeah, deservedly so.
He's won.
Yeah, so I'll start with you. I'll start with you today, Harry. The sale of the club, it hasn't been straightforward, and everything we hear, in the media, I call it speculations. Nobody's sure what's going on. They say the Saudis didn't put a bid in, and then we're hearing from the Zakin seller that they did put a bid in. We're hearing that Nick Candy and his group, they have a long shot to getting selected. And then we are also concerned about the Rickets, given the Islamophobia comment from their father. What's your take on all these things and how the status at this point?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's actually good that we've had so much interest, and I know we've got these sort of 3 or 4 names that seem to be in the papers all the time. So you've got Nick Candy, Saudi Media Group, the Boehly bid. I think there's probably a lot more that we don't know about, but it's good we've got so many people that are interested as well. And obviously, you can see in the media there's certain sort of journalists who seem to be getting certain bits of information from, the Saudi Media Group with Nizar Kinsella. So there's certain people that seem to be feeding that information in. And they're all, of course, going to say the right things at the moment because they want to try and win the fans over. They want to try and push their bid so it's above the others in terms of what they're offering. And yeah, they're just trying to win the fans over. So yeah, it's all a bit up in the air at the minute. We don't really know the full facts of who's put these bids in, but I expect probably from Monday it'll be a lot clearer.
Mm-hmm. And you said something about they're trying to win the fans over. Do you think the fans will in any way influence who gets selected?
Um, to be honest, no. I know there's certain, you've got John Terry and that sort of saying about having fan groups, and we do need fan representation on the board in some degree. I think probably the main thing that people are looking at from a fan's point of view is obviously we want to see a continuation of winning trophies. We want to make sure we're ambitious in the transfer market. But there's other factors that we probably don't really think about as that important that will influence the decision. So I think probably the big thing is the redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. That's a big part of I think what the decision makers are going to look at. And if you think about it, it looks like the sort of bids are around 2 billion. When you talk about redeveloping Stamford Bridge, it's probably another 500 million at the very minimum. We're talking probably over 1 billion to do that. So there's probably other factors that are going to influence who actually gets the ownership. And obviously, I think from the owner's point of view, it's the main thing is they just want to win the fans over by saying, we're going to prioritise women's football. We're going to continue to be competitive, and hopefully that's true. I'm not saying they're lying, but of course that's just a small factor in what is a big business essentially.
Yeah, great input right there, Stav. Stav, what do you think about the status of the whole process? Are you concerned, and do you have any update for us?
No, I'm not concerned, but I've heard a few different things like Mr. Boehly, he's claiming that if he wins the bid, that he'll have it all completed by the time of the Norwich game, which is like 12 days, about something like that. I would debate that. I've seen another story that Roman could still cause an issue because he's not keen on American bidders because of the fact that they've been sanctioning.
He's not keen on any bidder that's from a country that's sanctioned oligarchs.
Yep, that's the one. That's the story I've seen.
Yes.
So there's that one. The other story I saw is that Nick Candy and the South Koreans have only bid $2.6 billion, which could be an issue.
Sorry, can you say that again?
That the Nick Candy South Korean bid was only $2.6 billion as opposed to pounds. So that could be an issue as well. I know we said that he's not going to necessarily pick the one with the biggest bid, but if you turn that into pounds, that's quite a low bid. So I've heard that. I've heard a couple of other things.
It's nearly half the amount.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
okay.
But that's only what we're reading, isn't it? And that's speculation, and I don't know if they've openly said that's what they've bid or not. But
well, we can only speculate, like you said. I'm going to come to you immediately, Harry. That statement, if it is true, that Roman will be reluctant or may not sell to any bidders from countries that have sanctioned the oligarchs, not just him. The way that it's phrased in the media is that Roman may decide not to sell to bidders from countries that have sanctioned the oligarchs, not just Roman Abramovic. What do you think about that? And don't you think he's saying the wrong message? It sounds as if he's trying to revenge some sort, if you ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because it could just be paper talk as well. And to be honest, I didn't really think he had any say over who the next owners are going to be. Because of course, now he's been sanctioned, no money's going to go to him regarding any sale anyway. So it's a bit of a strange story. I know there's so many rumours around at the minute anyway. So I probably expect it probably is just a rumour. I don't know. I mean, we don't really know his thoughts on the whole situation, do we, regarding the war? And I think you've got to remember, this is, as much as we're seeing Chelsea as this big story. It's actually a very small story and what is a much wider issue here with what's going on in Ukraine. I'd like to think that he's got Chelsea's interests at heart. From the statements he released kind of before he got sanctioned, it seemed like, you know, he was prepared to sort of, you know, not take any of the proceeds, and then obviously he got sanctioned anyway. So I'm hoping that's just paper talk, but it would be a bit concerning if that's the case. But again, I think until we know how many bidders there are and what these bidders are from and where they live, I don't think it's really something we can look into too much. You know, I know we're saying it was the US and UK ones he's against because they've been sanctioned, but again, there's so many bids around that at the moment I'd probably just take it as paper talk.
Yeah, I understand that. To me, right now, it's still paper talk with that because I don't see him as somebody that, well, after all, he's using an American company. That's why it doesn't make sense. The company that is facilitating the sale is an American company. They could have used another company from other countries. So it just doesn't make sense. If you put two and two together, you will see like Harry have established here, it's just paper talk. But let's assume it is true because we like to be objective here. I'm coming to you. Let's assume it is true. And the Saudis, if it is true also that the Saudis were not able to put in a bid before the deadline day or the deadline time given by the Raine Group, what will happen? Because we just have all the bidders from all the countries that have sanctioned him. We have groups that are, you know, comprised of bidders that have sanctioned him. What do you think will happen?
I don't think him choosing an American group to do the sale is relevant to whether he wants American buyers. I'm still taking it as paper talk, but
no, I'm seeing it from the perspective. 1 second, stop. I'm seeing it from the perspective that the American company that's facilitating the sale, they're not doing it for free. They're making some profit.
Yeah.
So if that's what
the point is,
go ahead.
Yeah, but the point is, maybe he already deals with them, right? Maybe he has connections with them. I don't think it's relevant to his beliefs about America. They may be the best company in the world at doing this kind of deal. So I wouldn't read too much into that. He's not getting any money anyway, so. It's not. I don't see that aspect relevant. But is he a vindictive person? I don't know. I would imagine you'd have to be tough getting to be that rich. So it's a question worth debating. So, but I don't really care because the vast majority of us don't want an American company.
So let's say if that's the scenario, if that's the case, if that is the case, if Roman really, let's just assume Roman really doesn't want to sell a Chelsea Football Club to any of the groups that have people from countries that have sanctioned the oligarchs, and the Saudis, if it is also true that the Saudis did not put a bid in, what will happen?
The thing we have to remember, right, is the clubs in the UK, so he has to listen to bids from the UK, right? We also have to remember, as I explained, why the sanctions have been brought in, and I told you about all the stuff that was going on in Parliament.
Let's keep it. I want to know. Given the
I'm trying to explain to you. Yeah, but I'm trying to just let me go where I'm going, and you'll understand why I'm saying it.
All right, go ahead.
They're only doing it because of the pressure they've had from home, and because the Americans have done it, and the pressure they're getting from home is saying, why are the Americans sanctioning him and sanctioning oligarchs, and you're not sanctioning oligarchs? And at the end of the day, he's the most high profile involved in the UK. So the fact that the British are getting pressure because the Americans have sanctioned oligarchs, he might see the US as the ones who started it all off, setting the whole process in motion, because the EU only followed later as well. So it's the US that started the whole process, and the US have their own issues for doing it in the first place. But that's another conversation. So that could be he doesn't have the same, shall we say, same animosity towards the British government, because they've allowed him. Don't forget, this started 3 weeks ago. We're now into the 4th week, right? And then I've been reading certain things. He's managed to get his yachts to safety. His plane's now in Russia because he flew there on it. He managed to transfer his US property into his wife's name, ex-wife's name. And I've heard a couple of other things about a couple of his businesses that he's managed to, shall we say, move on to someone else. He hasn't sold them, but that's how it's been shown.
So Stab, you haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question.
What was your question?
I want to know. Now I'm gonna restate that.
I just did. If you were listening to what I was saying, right?
No, I want to know what will happen to the club.
At the US.
My point is, what will happen to the club if the scenarios I explained are true?
Well, he's going to sell, isn't he? No, he's going to sell. Anybody other than if the story is true, then he's going to sell to somebody who's not American.
We don't have any of the Saudis out there. Which of the groups do you have there that doesn't have an American or anybody from England?
No, I've just explained why. I just explained why the UK is not an issue, right?
No, there's
the
no
UK
way
bidders
UK
are not an issue.
They sanctioned.
Kinsella's saying.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, Kinsella's saying that the Saudis have put a bid in. The Koreans have confirmed they've put a bid in, whether it's high enough or not. And we've been told that there was up to 30 different bidders.
That's my point, but I understand. You sure they put a bid in. Harry, coming to you, I know you understand the scenario I explained. If it is true that Roman did say Roman is planning not to sell to any of the consortiums comprised of people from countries that sanctioned him, England sanctioned him, the US sanctioned him, and I think Switzerland did too. I'm not sure of any other country, but there's hardly any of those groups that you did not have. So you don't have somebody from America or the United Kingdom. So if that is truly the case, and then the Saudis, if it is true that they were not able to put in the bid before the deadline, what do you think will happen?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying at the start, is that the sort of names that we're talking about today, that is probably just a small fraction of how many people have actually made a bid. So I expect probably come Monday, at some point next week, we'll hear a few more about these other bidders. And we don't know where they come from. So they may not have any UK or US influence at all. I'd like to really know, I think probably the most important question is actually how much say does Roman Abramovich actually have regarding this next decision? You know, we know for a fact that he can't get any of the proceeds from the sale. So he can't have 100% say in where the next ownership Chelsea is going. So I think that's probably the important question until we actually know how much say he has. If he does have any say, because again, as we were saying, it's paper talk, we're not going to really know. But again, until we know how many of these bidders are actually out there and how many do have UK or US influence, we don't really know. I remember when this all started, people were saying that the serious bidders will do their business in private. And obviously these 4 or 5 names that, you know, you've got on the screen there, they're the main names I'm talking about. I can be pretty certain that that isn't, you know, every bidder there that's been involved. And again, we don't really know how serious they are. You know, I think the Boehly bid seems pretty serious from what we've read. I think Nick Candy's probably looking at it as a point of view. He's a fan, and you know, hopefully the club's interests are hard with that. The Saudi media group, we don't really know how much they're invested in Chelsea. We just know, and if you look on social media, a lot of people are very tempted by them because we know the Saudis tend to have a lot of money. So until we really know the full facts around who has bid, including the ones that are secret at the minute, and how much Roman Abramovic has over what's going to happen next. I don't think we can really answer that question much more than just saying at the moment we just say it's paper talk.
Yeah, I think it's all paper talk. But my concern is just as the article I read about that scenario was that the club will most likely go into administration if that's the case. And again, to me, let's just assume now that it's all paper talk. And in a minute, we'll start looking at inputs in the chat, input questions if you have, because this is a fan audience-driven show, interactive show if you prefer. So we'll be looking for good questions and good inputs in the chat. We will read and analyze those inputs. Starting with you now, I know I've discussed this aspect with Stav yesterday, Harry. Let's talk about John Terry. The fact that he's asking for 10%. Do you think it's a strategy? Is this something you think the club is involved in, pushing him to, that is to be of the fans' voice, to join whatever groups that emerges as a buyer? But before I get your response, I want to say thank you to everybody that found time to join this Blue Morning Show. And I want to say, DJ Sir, please check your inbox. I want to say, amen here. Welcome back, TC. Nice to see you again. And the Queen herself, Street Beer, nice to see you. Also, I want to see, I see Sasuka Uchiha. Nice to see you. Pierre, nice to see you. If I miss your name, Nick Blue, nice to see you. Anna Raleigh Jennings, nice to see you here. Who else do we have in the chat here? If I miss your name, my apologies. I'm only human. Okay, I see CFC for him. Good channel also. And if you haven't, please go check out CFC for him. I think you will love it. Great content. I'm friends with him because he's factual, always 100%. So yeah, go ahead, Harry.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of took me a bit by surprise seeing that news. And I have to say, I haven't got the full facts around it, but it sounds like he wants a stake in whoever's going to be the owner, essentially. And I think what we said earlier on is fan representation is going to be very important. And obviously, there's not been many sort of greater legends than John Terry, but I think it's one of those really. I mean, as much as I want to say that's a great idea, I hope it's not really just sort of brought out of emotion really of the current situation. I know John Terry does want to represent the fans, but we've got the Supporters Trust who I think said yesterday they haven't completely sort of sided with what John Terry has said yet. So again, I kind of want to hear a little bit.
Sorry, can you say that again? The Supporters Trust said.
I mean, again, I don't want to get you wrong, but I think the Supporters Trust didn't want to endorse John Terry's message just yet regarding, having a stake in the clubs. Again, they are really the voice of Chelsea, the Supporters Trust at the end of the day. So I think there needs to be some communication there that John Terry is actually going to represent the fans. Otherwise, I think it's kind of a bit premature really to say that he's going to have a stake. But of course, it'd be nice to have a club legend on the board. And I think there's no probably bigger Chelsea legend than John Terry. And the fact he's called it True Blue kind of it emphasises that really.
Yeah, great response there. But good to know at least there's some measure of truth to the fact that you're saying the Chelsea Trust saying they haven't endorsed it or something like that. But I think if anybody should be there, I think somebody like John Terry should be the one because he's currently the most outspoken of our former players given the situation. We have one who practically denied us, denied the owner, didn't even say anything to show he has some compassion for the fans. But that's, by the way, so thank you for that great input right there. Stav, let's start by this comment on the screen. Even though we've talked about it before a bit, this is a phrase stating that he's concerned, saying, better keep Rickets family out, either Todd or Saudi. I am fine with. Stav, we know it's not that simple, but we've talked about it. I'll let you, I'll say my own opinion once you're done and Harry's done talking about it. What do you think, Stav, about the Rickets family, that the fact they're still part of the process?
Well, you can't deny anybody to make a bid. It's illegal to stop someone bidding. Mm-hmm. So I think you missed my point earlier on, right? My point earlier on was that it's the US that started the sanctions. They're the ones who are pushing for them. Okay.
Like I understand your point. I was just seeking for another because
I just don't think it's relevant. I just don't think it's relevant with the UK. Right?
Okay, you're talking about the Rickets family now.
No, look. What I'm going back to the previous little bit about.
Don't worry about that. I understand your point. I understand your point. The issue at first was that we're seeing things differently. But can you talk about the Rickets family?
The Rickets. Yeah, but if you take the two things in together, right? The Rickets family have to be allowed to bid. Doesn't mean they're going to be accepted. In response to Harry, right? Ultimately, Roman has the final say because the government have already said they're not going to choose who the bidder is. It's up to the club and Roman, because ultimately, because they've frozen his assets, doesn't stop him being the actual owner. So they've got to keep him sweet as well, because they don't want to end up in court against him. Right? I don't believe it will, because I don't believe he wants to risk the club. But they don't want to end up in a court case against him and be dragged through the newspapers, right? And the reasoning behind what they've done is a distraction, but they don't want a distraction that big, and ultimately having to pay Roman millions if he wins a court case, which he probably would, because these sanctions are not really legal.
So overall, you think? That the Rickets family won't have any issue being part of the process. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that we can voice our concerns, right? We can if you can get nervous about it, if you want to get nervous about it, you can have an issue about them, but they have to be allowed. You cannot stop anybody putting a bid in. It's not legal, because that was shown by Richard Branson when he wasn't allowed to put a bid in for Surrey NHS, and he sued them and he won his case, because his argument was that he should have at least been able to put a bid in. So it's not legal to just prevent somebody from... the Rickets could sue Roman through the British courts because of that, because I don't know the legislation in the US, but they could take Roman
I'll talk about how things are done here. Yeah. So thank you for that input. Harry, what do you think about what the reason for the fans being concerned about the Rickets being part of the whole process, before you let me know why you think they're still part of the process?
Yeah, so I assume the reason that comment there is regarding things that they've said before.
What their father said.
Yeah, and I mean, as fans, obviously, look, at the end of the day, we do see these things, and of course, they're definitely red flags, and we don't want that at the football club. But of course, as we were saying before, we can't stop anyone putting a bid in, and of course, there has to be a process here. There has to be checks on these owners, and that's not just regarding what they've said, and it's obviously about how much money they've actually got, the actual funds. But of course, there has to be checks on what these people have said before, and obviously, right now at the minute, we're seeing it all over in football. The Newcastle owners and their historical beliefs and what's been going on in that country. It's all being flagged up now. So I can't imagine if anyone's got a slightly checkered past on what they've said or what they've done, these things are going to be improved or approved. I think as fans, we've just got to trust that the process, and whoever does these processes and makes all these checks, they're actually checking these things and making sure that whoever actually buys the club, hasn't got any beliefs that are going to come back and bite us in a few years' time. But yeah, I mean, it didn't look good. I did sort of read a few of these things, and yeah, hopefully, if that's the case, we don't have them in charge.
Yeah, again, I'm going to repeat. I think you made a great point, and Stav also did make a great point there. Those people in charge of making the selection better be well educated on the backgrounds of these people, and something like this isn't something you can overlook or sweep under the rug, because we have a Muslim contingents at our club, about a lot of them, are, and Chelsea is a very, very diverse club with diverse players of religion, color, and however you want to phrase it. So we don't want that. It's going to cause a whole lot of friction within the club's structure, if you ask me. So like Stav did mentions, there's something like that, and I've been part of the process of hiring people. You don't deny somebody an application for a job because they have a criminal history or because of what they did before. It's illegal, and I'm just which is the same thing Stav said. But you have them. You have to interview them too. But you already know you don't want them. But you're not going to say it. You just have to complete the process. And I'm hoping that's the case, because if by any chance these guys emerge, the new owners, it will cause a whole lot of problems. I think the fans will actually they will actually demonstrate, if you ask me, at the breach. Because it's not something you can just, like I mentioned, sweep under the rug. So that's a great input right there. Let me see if you have any other thing from the fans here to talk about. Tobago says, hit the like button, and nice to see you there. I think I saw some input here I wanted us to talk about here. This brother here says, why selling to countries that has sanctioned him and the club? Better to sell to the Saudi Arabia. Again, that's your own opinion. Those individuals did not sanction him. The government of the countries did, not the individuals that are vying to become, new owners of the club. So let me see. Could see Chelsea get 15,000 to 20,000 new seats. Very possible. The new stadium. Let's stick to this one and talk about it a bit while I search for something else that we can address. Harry, I'll start with you. How important is the rebuild of the stadium will be? How important do you think it will be for the new owners?
Yeah, I think it's quite an important factor. I think as fans, we're probably not too worried about that. We're probably more just worried about the football on the pitch. But it sounds like a big part of what's probably going to be approved in terms of the bid is probably going to come down to how much they're willing to spend on upgrading Stamford Bridge. I mean, we know it's quite a small stadium. It's just over 40,000 people it sits. So, comparative to some of the biggest clubs in the world, it is pretty small. And of course, a few years ago, it was all going to be redeveloped, and that all stopped after Roman Abramovic wasn't allowed in the country. So it does need addressing. Again, I think that's probably the best thing is to redevelop it, because you can imagine the sort of issues if an owner came in and then started saying he wants to move stadium. It's been Chelsea's stadium ever since the club was formed. So, I think that's probably a priority. I saw that Boehly said he was going to maybe spend about 500 million to upgrade the stadium, as opposed to about $1 billion. So he was going to sort of cut the cost of it. And
who said about 500 million?
Yeah, apparently Boehly's sort of plan was that he wasn't going to spend so much on redeveloping the stadium. But I think in terms of whoever does actually get the eventual ownership of Chelsea, I think that is going to be a priority. I think that's something that, again, as fans, we're probably not too interested in. And I think probably a huge reason why people want the Saudi owners is because they look at it and go, they've got a lot of money, and they're going to spend billions and billions of pounds on players. But the reality is that is a small fraction of what the actual ownership of Chelsea will involve. It's a business at the end of the day, and as much as we want them to just focus on the football, the reality is there are other issues, and one of them will be the stadium.
Yeah, great input right there. And before I come to you, Stav, I want to show this comment here. DJ shared this with me, and it's important to know, yes, that Saudi media group did submit their bid for Chelsea. So all the stuff saying they didn't could be all lies. So, but that's, by the way. So, Stav, I'm going to come to you. The comment on the screen, I don't know if you can see it. It says, Chelsea Premier League writers are questioning whether owner Roman Abramovic can act on his promise to write off the club's £1.5 billion of debt without breaking profit and sustainability rules. You go ahead, Stav. I know you'll give us a great answer for that one.
Yeah. First, I want to respond to what Harry just said. Right, it's a precondition of buying the club that you've got the funds to develop the stadium. It's actually in in the process of selecting a buyer. It's in there. It's preconditioned.
So you have to show that you're able to develop the stadium.
Anyone who buys it has to show the money first, and then when the sale goes through, there'll be a contract of sale. So that's going to be in amongst there. So that's that issue. With regards to this Chelsea's rivals thing going on about profitability, right? Chelsea have denied it's an issue. Right? At the end of the day, all he's got to show is it's what he's invested in the club, and it's not an actual debt. So are they going to now start turning round and telling Manchester City, who've been pulled up for financial fair play, are they going to tell Manchester City, well, you have to show us that the money you spent, right, doesn't contravene the same rules, right? They're going to have to do it to every club that has a consortium, right? Or the same with the Glazers. They've got to show that their the money they've spent is actually an investment, right? It's now the club will counteract what they're claiming, right, by showing that they bought Cobham, they're showing the academy, they're going to show the women's team, because FFP gives you various leeway when you have money spent on the academy, on the training ground, and the women's team, right? This is just the money he spent in the club. Like I said yesterday, people need to get round this it's a debt thing, right? It's not a debt, right? It's not a debt. It's an investment in the club over a period of 19 years, right? Now, if you took it 19 years, then that's not that massive. It's not that massive an investment, okay? Like I said yesterday, it's part of the structure. It's the way he structured it into loans, right? But I will say, the fact he made the promise previously that he wouldn't ask for the loan back is irrelevant, because now the club's been frozen and sanctioned, and it's the government who are saying, right, that he can't get any money out of it. So he can't take the money back, because they're saying that they would make Chelsea pay the money back to Abramovich, to Roman, right? That's one of the things they either pay it back or they get into trouble. Well, they can't pay it back because the government has said he can't have anything, right? The situation is not the norm. It's not for the reasons that they set up those rules anyway. So the whole thing's ridiculous. And this is why the Daily Mail, or shall we, as it's well known as the Daily Fail, right, is now pursuing this story that Roman might change his mind and hang on and refuse to sell it, which would then mean going into liquidation, right, or receivership, right? So it's just the newspapers trying to turn it into something it's not. It can't be as normal, because it's the government who have forced the issue, right? And at the end of the day, it's just a nonsense, and it's just some clubs trying it on. The ultimate decision will be made by the Premier League Management Committee, and I'm pretty sure that Man City and Arsenal and people like that are going to have people on the Management Committee as well. So it's a nonsense. It's just clubs trying it on because they want us to receive a points deduction, which would move us down the table and move all of them up. So, and it's a lengthy process. They can't just do it, because if they do it, he can take them to court, and that would just stop the Premier League from functioning. So it's stupid. I wouldn't get too much into it. It's just one newspaper that's really pushing it, Daily Mail.
Yeah, any input on that? Any input on that, Harry?
No, I think, to be honest, I think you hit the nail on the head with all of that as well. And I think, saying about the daily fail, as you put it, I think the reporting of a lot of these issues around Chelsea has actually been really poor over the last few weeks. I think we just say sort of and non-biased media, but unfortunately that has been the case. It's not down.
Sorry, we're getting a feedback from somebody. If you're not talking, please can you mute your phone so we can hear what Harry is saying? Go ahead, Harry.
But no, I think everything Star said then was fine, and I just think the media reporting of this whole situation has been pretty poor, to be honest, and we just want it to be unbiased and the truth. The clubs that have apparently said that they don't think he could, write off the debt within the rules. I think it is a nonsense. I think there's so many clubs that have probably got, certainly bigger issues than we've had as well. And as I said, they're just trying it on. It's purely that they're just trying it on, and it probably comes out of a rivalry more than anything to do with the rules, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that makes a perfect sense. I'm going to come to you, Nick Blue. You said you have an update for us. We're all ears. And by the way, welcome to the show.
Yeah, big up, chaps. Welcome to everyone. Yeah, last night, a very good friend of mine, who goes to Chelsea very regular and meets a lot of players there. He says to me, it looks like the Saudis are going to be the ones. So, well, that's who I want, really, at the end of the day. After the Nick Candy's adventure, they caught him having dinner just that day we had the sanctions, talking with government and all that. So he's gone out of my mind at the moment. I don't think Roman will want him now, and I don't think Roman will want the Americans either. It's got to be the Saudis, unless it's someone we don't know. But according to my friend, it's the Saudis. So let's see. We're gonna see very soon. And can I mention the game yesterday? Great performance yesterday, and I was glad, especially to see Mason Mount come back to his best. That's the Mason Mount.
Yeah, we'll talk about the game later. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it for us, Nick Blue. So coming to you, let's see who we have in the house here. I don't know all the names. LSG. Any update for us?
Yeah, hello guys. Greetings to the
Hi,
house.
how are you? And welcome to the show. Pardon my bad manners. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I think Nick mentioned what I was going to say. I think I said it in this stream before, yesterday or so, that I don't trust Nick Candy, that it was making this stuff too much. And the very first day when he made a statement that I don't care who buys it and all of that, that was psychology. I was like, yeah, you do care about who's going to buy it, So he was doing some slimy deal with them. Imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. When I read that, his dad, his dad was in a Chelsea farm, died, and then he had to go bury his ash, scatter his ash around Stafford Bridge. I felt it a bit weird, I said, okay, if Roman could allow something like that, that shows how, what a great guy, he is. So hearing this now, this is just a confirmation of what I already suspect. So it's a definite no for me. So I don't know if there's a way the CMP sports, or I like to call it the school game, I don't know if there's a way they can, get Nick out of the picture and bid on their own. Because they didn't need Nick. They just wanted Chelsea fans. That's why they involved Nick. That's my thinking anyway.
Yeah. Can I just make a point? What you said is absolutely true. What happened with Nick Candy is true. It's no false news or anything like that. Because like I said, I have someone who tells me things, and
yes,
and he be out there. He has no chance at all. I thought he was good at the beginning when I was a true Chelsea fan. He might be a Chelsea fan, but he's not there for the club.
Yeah.
You're right, man. Yeah.
So these are
So
these are my
I
initial
want to take this
reservations.
opportunity. I don't know, Harry. It's okay to say something you told me in the DM. I want to say something so people can help. Say happy birthday to that person. I hope that's not an issue. Harry's father is celebrating his birthday today, and I want us all, please, just take a minute to say happy birthday to his father. I hope he enjoys his day. Tell him we said happy birthday to him. So don't forget. Thank you again, Harry, for finding time to join here. I know you'll be leaving on the hour mark. So I want to come to you, Stav. The Nick Candy, is Nick Candy a problem for his own for his group?
Well, because he's a conservative backer.
So that's an issue on its own.
Why? Because he's a backer of the Conservative Party. Is that what the issue is? I don't see it as one. The thing is, once the bid's been accepted, the government can't meddle, right? And even if it's his bid that's accepted, at the end of the day, all I say is a Chelsea fan, right? And I've got to take him at face value. We're making too much of the government issue here, right? I've explained it more than once why they got involved, right? It's for their own. They need a distraction from the stick they're getting within Parliament. They need distraction from Partygate and the fact they're being investigated by the police, right? That's how that government functions. They use distraction tactics. Roman's just a distraction. I don't see that as that big a deal. But if what I've read, they're not going to get it anyway because they haven't bid very much. So at the end of the day, when you make a bid, if that's all they're bidding, how much are they showing towards the stadium, which is an issue. So for me, they're not going to get it anyway. So I think
so let me ask this question. Anybody can come in, but I think I'll start with Tyrone because he hasn't said anything. You're bidding with all the, other people out there. They have their own bid. And why bid lower than what others are bidding, who are also able to develop the stadium too? So why are you part of the process in the first place? Tyrone, if you want to come in or if you want me to ask someone else, that's fine. Harry, you can come in. I think Tyrone isn't there. Harry, what do you think? Why is Nick and his group part of the whole process? Why put in a bid in the first place where you've heard that others have a bid that's more than what you have there? So what do you think? What do they think will make them emerge as the new owners, even though they haven't bid up to what, the highest bid is not even close to what the highest bidders have bid before?
He's probably, I assume, hoping that his project is better than the other people's. But, he was probably one of the first names that was actually interested. When we think about a few weeks ago, he was one of the first names I saw anyway. And, we don't know if he's made this bid, I remember reading yesterday that the Boehly bid was actually increased right at the last minute. So maybe he's pretty confident that his project's the best. Maybe he's relying on the fact he's maybe more of a Chelsea fan. He's maybe got, their interest more at heart. Again, I think from a fan's point of view, we do obviously want this, essentially the owner with the most money. But, I don't think money is completely the overriding factor here. I don't actually know who he's paired with. I know we were saying about some Korean consortium he joined with, but, I don't know. I think we've got to be honest here. Probably some of the bids probably aren't that serious, and we don't really know how serious his bid is. He's put a bid in, and from what we know so far or from what we've heard, we don't think it's as big as the others. But again, he might have increased that at the last minute. We may just be talking about an initial bid he made. So, it's difficult. I can't see him being the owner like everyone else has been saying. I don't think he has got the funds. So he's really been relying on getting people to join and hopefully sort of big up the offer. But yeah, I do agree. It does seem a bit strange, but I just assume he's relying on his project being better than anyone else's.
Yeah, I think he seemed a bit. I say he was a bit arrogant about it. I think that just makes it seem like the whole interview by Sky Sports was arranged or something like that. And Harry, I want to show you this. These are people saying happy birthday to your father. TC says happy birthday, Daddy, and Studia says happy birthday, Harry's father. And just Viola, another queen of the house, says happy birthday to Harry's father. And guys, thank you very much for taking some time to do that. That means a lot to me. I think we put a smile on Harry's face. He's always supporting the growth of the channel. And so that means a lot to us. That's the least we can do for a friend like Harry. Okay, let me see if I have something else we can address here. And if you're in the chat, if you have... Yes, go ahead.
No, right. The fact is that any bid has to take every factor into account. Now, Boehly said he's only going to spend $500 million on the stadium, right? Whereas Nick Candy might be willing to spend $1 billion, on the stadium. The presentation has to be the whole package, not just the initial bid. Because remember, Roman's not getting this money, right? It's going to some either the Ukraine victims or some other charities or whatever. How they decide to spend it, So Roman's not getting the money, so that's not really relevant to him, right? It's that the money's going to charities, right? Whichever charities it is. So that's not going to be the biggest factor for Roman, because he's going to want to see that they've got the money for the stadium as well, and that they're going to do as good a stadium as possible. Right now, you can spend $500 million, which Boehly's saying he's going to spend, by just adding a few extra seats, tarting the place up a bit, add a few boxes. I would imagine, I don't know what sport in America's like, but I would imagine executive boxes become a big deal to some American sports owners. Right, so it's the whole package. Let's not just consider that because someone's putting the lowest bid in, that it's relevant, right? Somebody, I can't remember who it was, actually stated the people need to realise, and the media, that includes media and everyone else, right, that the money is going to the Ukraine. So I'm assuming the Ukraine is the government's first choice as to where the money goes. That the money's going to the Ukraine, it's not going to Abramovich, right? So for some people, they might say, well, yeah, we want to get as much money as we can for the Ukraine, right? But it's not down to them, and it's not necessarily the biggest consideration for Roman, right? Having the money to do the stadium as well is going to come into it. So it's got to be the complete package, because, like I said, they were given a checklist, and they have to comply with that checklist, and they have to show they've got the funds to do all of it, right? So putting a lower bid in doesn't necessarily preclude you from getting the club. You have to prove that you can do the stadium as well.
So lower bidding isn't an issue. Other factors must come into play. Maybe they were confident that their project or maybe their plan for the takeover maybe will help push them through. But thank you very much. LSC, I want to come to you about this question. Says it is reported the Saudis have put in a bid for around 2.65 or 66 billion pounds. How well are you acquainted with all the bids that the Raine Group have you received?
Yeah. Well, the Saudi bid, I don't know, the media, they are playing some funny games with that bid. One moment we heard they made it 2.7 billion bid. Now it's 2.65. You know, the other day they said that, oh, they didn't get their bid in. You know, people were calling for Nizaki Salah to come out, you know, and face the music. So I think it was out for probably about 12 hours or something. You know, so yeah, eventually it came out to say, yeah, you know, even ES Grime confirmed it as well. So I don't know what to believe right now with the bits, you know, because a lot of propaganda going on, a lot of PRO going on. You have this lady from is it Chelsea Pride? Tracy Brown, you know. So she was on Sky Sports TV, basically, you know, it was all propaganda for Nick Candy, you know. Then they, at the end of the interview, the journalist asked, well, the propagandist asked her basically, who does she think is going to be the winner? And she said, what I thought, Nick Candy, you know. So they are rooting for Nick Candy and they are promoting John Terry as well, you know. So it's going to be NFT FC, you know. So honestly, yeah, this is really getting me, you know, it's getting me really, really worried. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I know tomorrow morning I'm going to be on call. I'm going to call them all day. I don't care whether it makes any impact or not. I'm just going to do the best I can, honestly. You know.
Yeah, Harry, this comment on the screen. Any concerns about that?
Said it's looking a lot like it's going to be Todd Boehly who's buying us.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
get ready for me quick. Yeah. So
Yeah,
what I would
I was
say.
asking Harry.
Okay. Okay.
yeah, it doesn't really particularly bother me at the minute because I think in the last hour we one of us has said it's going to be Nick Candy, a few of us have said it's going to be the Saudi group, and some of us have said it's going to be Todd Boehly. The reality is we don't really know, and I don't think anything has been done yet. You know, this is the bids were in on Friday, and the process of actually getting an owner in place is something that's not going to happen overnight. You know, we're on Sunday now, so it's only been a couple of days, and I think it'll become clearer over the international break, of course. But this isn't something that you can just look at over sort of 10 minutes. And as we were saying earlier, you can't just look at it as who's offered the most money, because some might be more prepared to put more money into the ground. Some might have better plans in terms of what they want from the football side of things. There's so many factors, and I think at the minute we're all sort of suggesting that it's going to be A, B, or C. And the reality is, I don't think we're close to that at all yet. In terms of the Boehly bid, he just seems to me like he's been the name that's been in the news the most, you know, and apparently he's made 2 bids now. He upped his initial bid. So he clearly wants it. But yeah, as I said, I think there's probably at least 2 or 3 private sort of consortiums that have bid who we don't know about yet. And I'm sure that will be in the news in the coming weeks. So yeah, it doesn't worry me. I think he'd be, in terms of what I've seen about him, he looks like a safe pair of hands. But as I said, I think there's going to be a few more stories to come out. Yeah, certainly don't think it's going to be him just yet.
How about the aspect that he's teaming up with Mr. the Swiss man, Mr. is it Wyss or Wyss, whom people are saying that he said some bad stuff about Roman Abramovic, that he never liked the Roman. Are you concerned about that at all?
Again, not really. I think for me, I'm just trusting whoever's making these decisions is actually, looking at all these things. We have these social fit and proper person tests, and it's no interest to me what he said about Abramovich. I'm ultimately all I care about is that Chelsea are going to be, still a successful team, and we're still going to be competing, and and that's at all levels. So whether it's the academy still being prioritised, the women's team, the men's team. And as we were saying before, that they have the funds to redevelop Stamford Bridge, and ultimately, Tuchel's still going to be there, and all these main players are still going to be there. That's all that really matters to me. I'm not too bothered what anyone said about Abramovich, as long as they've got the best interest of Chelsea at heart.
Yeah, I want to get. I know you said you'll be leaving just after an hour to go. For because it's your your dad's birthday, and I'm thankful to all those in the chat that wished them a happy. But then again, I'm going to say happy birthday to Harry's father. I want to get your thoughts overall on this whole the status of the sale, what's in the media about Roman saying he's not willing to, that Roman might not sell the club to anybody from the UK or the United States, or just your final thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's certainly been a strange few weeks, hasn't it, for all of us? And I think there's probably been this assumption that, you know, the government have been punishing us, and, you know, that Chelsea are, you know, being punished for this whole situation. The reality is, if we were really being punished right now, we wouldn't even be playing. You know, we wouldn't be playing Premier League games. The players wouldn't be paid. You know, and ultimately, the only people that have really been affected so much from it so far are probably the people we don't know about. You know, the people that work in the shop, the people that we don't see behind the scenes. A lot of bad reporting on the whole thing. You know, we've seen articles and journalists about Chelsea, and we should be deducted points, we should be able to play. You know, it's all been ridiculous. At the end of the day, we're football fans, and this is a football club. And you know, all we want to see is our team playing football and hopefully winning. You know, I think it looks like it's starting to come to an end now, and hopefully we can put this all behind us. But you know, I think it's shown that there's a certain dislike for Chelsea from certain journalists, that's for sure. But again, I don't think if you take a step back, I think we're lucky we're still actually playing at the moment, because these sanctions could have affected us. And ultimately, there's bigger things than football, you know. So we're lucky we're still actually watching it. I think Tuchel's handled the situation brilliantly as well. You know, if you think, I always think, what would Jose Mourinho be like if he was Chelsea manager now? He'd probably be fighting every journalist. He'd be pointing at the badge, running down the touchline. So yeah, I think we're very lucky we've got Tuchel in charge, and thankfully the football's been going really well. You know, we've won 6 out of 6, and you know, when the actual games come on, I don't even think about the ownership. You know, the Middlesbrough game yesterday, it was just purely just thinking about football. But fingers crossed it's going to come to an end. You know, we've got 2 weeks of the international break to enjoy now, and hopefully the next time we talk about a Chelsea game, it'll all be sorted.
Just quickly, if you still have time,
yeah.
What the groups of all the groups, which of them do you think will make it to the final phase?
I definitely think the Boehly group will. I've still got my reservations about the Saudi media group. You know, I think it's still not really clear whether they've made a bid. We're assuming they have, but we've seen both sides, that one party or one journalist is saying they haven't, and the other journalist is saying that they've had. I think, I personally think there'll be 2 or 3 groups, or potentially, 3 groups, I'll say, that will probably be in the news over the next week, that will be in that final shortlist. I don't know how many they'd shortlist it down to, but I think Boehly's kind of said so far that he's ready to sort of take over a quick sale. And I think it's ultimately in everyone's interest. We want this to be done quickly. We don't really want to drag a football club in the political scene that we've got right now. And you know, if he's willing to sort of do a quick sale, and you know, he says he's prepared to sort of take over straight away, then you know, maybe he'll be the one. But again, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see who these other bidders are that we don't know about yet, because I'm sure there are a few of them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harry. Always good to have you around. Whenever you're ready, and I hope I want to have some discussion with you, and that's whenever you have time. And I appreciate you finding time to be here. And again, a happy birthday to your father. So whenever you're ready to leave, you're good to go, brother. Again, thank you. I can't thank you enough, even. So I want to say something. Given Harry's input, he says something about Boehly saying he wants to wrap up the process very quickly. So I'm going to ask you this question. I think it's Don. Don is your name, I think. Don, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, Don. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Don, let me ask you this question. They're saying that Boehly says he wants to wrap up the process very quickly. Is the process different for every group? It doesn't make sense to me for him to say he wants to take over quickly. Why is it different for him than it is for other groups, for his group than it is for other groups? You go ahead, Don.
Who are you talking about among them?
Listen now, Boehly, they said, and I've read that too, that he wants to take over. He wants to complete the process as soon as possible. He will not waste time in the process. It just, to me, it sounds as if he's saying that the process, when it comes to his group, is different than it is for all the other bidders.
Well, it might have a direct connection with the government. You know, these days there are a lot of crook way of acquiring stuff. It may have a direct connection with the Boris group, which is the prime minister. So, but my own opinion is that it's not about who is going to buy Chelsea, but what are the plan these people really have to help Chelsea out from this issue we are passing through. And do they really know much about the rules and policy of Chelsea community? Chelsea is not just that stadium. Chelsea is just me and you and the law we have for the Chelsea as a team. So are these people really know the rules and policy of Chelsea community all over the world? Do they have a special plan for signing the players, the academic players, the scouting, the business, the female team, and the expansion of the stadium? So what is their preparation to develop Chelsea? Because now we don't have a one month show anymore. We don't have a sugar daddy anymore, and all this group. It's not about Saudi is coming. What is their plan to develop Chelsea? And that is
okay. Yeah, good question there. Tyrone, I know you haven't spoken, and Bobby, welcome to the show. Tyrone, can you respond to this his concerns?
What concern?
He's concerned. He's asking, what are the plans of the potential new owners? Do they have a plan for the academy? Do they have a plan for Chelsea, the development of the stadium, and all that?
Which group?
All the groups.
Well, with Todd, I think one of the main ones that I think his plan was to something he brought up something about Liverpool. What was it? Something about Liverpool and their scouting system. He wants to use a similar one to when it comes on to bringing in players. That's for one. And apparently he also said that he wants to get it over the line as quickly as possible so fans can be in the stadium for the Brentford game. That was two of the things, but obviously for me, I find it a bit concerning because I think he's a Spurs fan. So I don't know how that will really work out, because you're going to be having a London rival fan being the owner of another club. That's weird. But I think two of the main objectives that he is looking to bring in is to emulate a similar system when it comes on to scouting certain players, like Liverpool have done over the years. And I don't really think that's really a good philosophy to follow, because Liverpool have won 5 trophies in 13 seasons, and that isn't good. And most of those trophies, or rather, should I say, all 5, have come under Jurgen Klopp. So I don't really know if that's something to really follow, because the ownership at that club isn't good. And I think the narrative around it is that American owners are bad owners, and I don't really agree with that to the highest level, because not every American is the same. And I think people believe that because they're seeing this at Arsenal or they're seeing this at Liverpool, they're fearful that it may happen. I don't want Todd Boehly to be the owner. I'm not saying he should, but I think the narrative needs to change, that because he's American, he's not good enough. He doesn't know anything about the sport. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. I think that should change. But I really don't know if it's right to be copying another club's plans, because you don't know what they're doing. It's not only their system. It has to do with the person that they have there. They have their director of football who's good. They have the club who understands what is necessary for him when those players are brought in. But you can't be using that, which is why that is really concerning. And I don't really agree with his plans in that way.
Okay. Yeah. I think you made a great point, and what I was asking really, but that answers some questions was Boehly was sounding. I'll come to you, and I want to say, Bobby, I don't know if I said that already. Welcome to Bobby. Welcome to the panel and to the show. What I was saying, Boehly was sounding as if there's a different, structure for their own participation in the bidding. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I address that?
Go ahead.
The woman who's involved, Barbara Sharon, the Chelsea fan. Yeah, she's a marketing executive. Okay, so obviously he's got somebody on board who's into marketing, and this is what he's doing. He's marketing, right? That's why he's making so many statements. Right? Don't read too much into what he's saying, becoming fact. People need to just wait and see who the final 3 or 4 bidders are, right, before starting to assume who they want. First of all, we don't know. The sooner the bidders become known, the more you're going to find out about their actual bids. That's when stuff's going to start coming out. We can all say we prefer the Koreans. We can all say we prefer the Saudis, right? Or we don't want Nick Candy. We don't want this. We don't want that, right? Nobody knows what the actual packaging is that's gone in, right? So she's a marketing executive who's worked with numerous pop stars and actors and people like that, right? So this is what's going on with Boehly. He's marketing, right? That's it. He's not like knows anything different. And I want to say something. Why would anybody? Yeah, why would anybody, right, want to get rid of the most successful women's team, right, in England, right, and in Europe even, right? Why would anybody want to get rid of one of the top 3 academies in Europe? That would be Barcelona, Chelsea, and Ajax. Why is someone going to get rid of them? Why is everybody so worried about it? All this has to be part of their package, right? They have to convince Roman, Marina, etc., right? That's part of their package. So let's not start making our... I've got no favourites at the moment because I don't know what each person is going to offer, right? And the Saudi guy, right, isn't any richer than anybody else. He's still going to have to bring other people into it.
Yeah. Right? I think we've established that, and thank you very much, Stav. That's a good answer. Boehly isn't treated differently. All he's doing is just market and trying to sell himself to those that it is in their hands to make the selection. So, Bobby, I couldn't wait to ask you this question. Maybe you have a better understanding than I do because I still do not understand. Where does John Terry come in all these things? All these, should I say, discussion about the club being sold? I'm not sure what he's doing there. Can you help us? Bobby, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, Coach. I'm here. Yeah, I've been listening with keen interest, and I find myself again agreeing with Stav. I've been doing quite a bit of that these days. Look, one thing that makes me uncomfortable about all of this, apart from the beginning of it, what the government has done, the whole Ukraine thing, there's so many things there that I'm not comfortable with, but, I won't get into that. But, now we have a sort of public tender type process, don't we? Everybody has an opinion, and I don't think that's healthy. People are already picking and choosing what they want, what they don't want, condemning people. I mean, I was on a platform only yesterday, people talking about, oh, I don't like this person, he knows Donald Trump, oh, I don't like this person, all this stuff. And I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it should be that public in a process, but it has been forced into the public domain by the mere nature as to how it has happened, which is very sad. It's very sad. The whole thing is sad, the way Roman has been forced to get rid of clearly something that was his true love for political reasons. It saddens me. It doesn't leave a good feeling about it all. You know, if you're going to sell something, it should be your choice to sell it when the time is right, and you should get something out of it. Now we have this kind of, I don't know what sale, you know, but, you know, it is what it is. We are where we are, and what's happening is happening. I just don't like this, you know, everybody now is publicly involved. Whether they're actually involved or not is irrelevant. They now have an opinion, and this opinion will continue to resonate noise. So we're in a situation where no matter who wins the tender, there's going to be some noise around it, because someone somewhere is going to say, oh, this isn't the person I wanted. Oh, this isn't, you know, how I wanted it. And, you know, the noise continues. And I'm getting to a point where I just want some peace around Chelsea. I want us focused on our football, on our success, on maintaining the team and the contracts of players, and just enough already. You know what I'm saying? Enough already. We're just a football team. You know, we've been turned into almost a political tool, you know, or blamed for a blooming war, for goodness sake. I mean, where does it end? I'm almost tired of the whole thing. I feel for everybody involved. I feel for all those innocent businessmen and women that are at Chelsea, in and around the community, that can't ply business because of this mess. I feel for the fans that simply want to go and get away from the stresses of their day and cheer their club. And they're now told they can't go and watch them at Middlesbrough. They can't go and watch the Champions League. Why? Why? What effing difference does it make to the war going on? Nothing. It's just creating more misery, more upset, more chaos. You know, sell this thing, get it done, make sure it's with somebody who has the finances to sustain the success of the club, who can go forward with the correct projects, and let's be done with it once and for all, for goodness sake. That's just how I feel, you know. I'm just letting off steam because it's very frustrating for ordinary people that didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah, thank you very much for that input right now. I hope Just Viola is not crying already. Yeah, Bobby has a way of, you know, presenting his input that it's really touching. I like all the things you said, but I want to follow up with this, Bobby. What do you think? Where does John Terry come in all these things?
Well, you know, in a way, I kind of support what he's doing, because it's everything about this sale, you know, the Nick Candy pitch and all this and that, you know, it's becoming a bit of a publicity exercise. But having John Terry as a fans representative, which is the way football ownership is going. Look, the days of single owners are over. You know, not especially for big clubs. It's over. A club like Chelsea is massive finance. It's got to be either a consortium or a conglomerate that takes it forward. That's a given. Now, the way forward has to include somebody that is a listening ear to the fans. I don't believe in fans having any real say in the board. I don't. I think that's just inviting chaos. But I believe in somebody that represents fans, that the board can respect, that can advise on many issues, especially as it relates to fans, tickets, maybe even to a certain extent purchases, and so on. And especially with Chelsea, with this delicate issue in and around the development of the ground and the transition, should we need to leave the ground, it's got to be with a respected fan representative there, probably transferring the news to the fans, because there are some fans that are so diehard about Stamford Bridge, they will die on that hill of not moving. And there are others that understand that, look, this club has to expand, and yes, we will do, you know, there is a need to do everything possible to make that expansion at Stamford Bridge. But if it really comes to it and there there is a sensible move option on the table, we need to consider it. And someone like John Terry, being a fans representative, makes sense to me. An ex-player, successful ex-player, everybody loves him, been at the club since he was a child, grown up with Chelsea, is a Chelsea fan, Chelsea through and through. Having him on the board makes sense than having some person, I mean, with all due respect, that nobody knows but is, you know, perhaps the chairman or chairwoman of the fan club and so on. So I get what he's doing in that respect, and I really hope that whoever wins the bid considers that and takes someone like him on board, because they've got to take someone that means something to the fans and is a fan. So for all it's worth, I don't think it's too much of a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It just looks like the whole thing right now is his initiative. It's not like it's something he's facilitating in collaboration with the club's trustees or something like that. I think if the plans to sell the club, if it is something that took time to plan over time, I think it would have been something in collaboration with the club, and that would be important for the fans. I think it makes sense, but it doesn't look like it's been facilitated in collaboration with the club. That's the area that I'm really concerned, because he's asking for 10%. That means it's for him for profit. Yeah, him being there means a lot to us, given that he's Chelsea through and through. But Bobby, thank you so much for that great input right there. And Stav, before I come to you, I want to go to LSG. LSG, looking at the comment on the screen, I know Stav has answered this question before. That's why I'm coming to you. The comment reads, I want to ask something. Do Chelsea Football Club as a whole, also Chelsea trustee, have a say when they choose a new owner?
Absolutely. Chelsea do have a say on who's going to buy the club, and Abramovic must give the green light on who the new owner will be. Okay, but whether the government is going to agree with that choice is a different, thing entirely. So, but Chelsea do have a say. Another thing concerning the bid is this: the losers in the bid, they can actually cause problems and prolong the process by going to court. They can sue. They can sue Raine Group to say there was some issues in their bid and all of that, and they can take the matter to court. You see? So I'm just praying that that is not the case with Chelsea.
Stav, what do you have to say about what LSC just said?
Well, I can't be handing out an emotional style response.
No, I'm just saying what LSC just said. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I know you've answered the question before.
What I'm saying is, I've already answered that, because that's the whole point of allowing anybody to bid, right? To going through the process. Nobody can do anything, right? The government have already stated they're not getting involved, right? They just have to be told who's been chosen, and the EPL decide whether somebody's acceptable or not the government, right? Can we just stop building this into something it's not, right? It's a distraction for their own means and ends. They've got their distraction. They've got their own mean and ends, right? Like Ali said earlier on, we could have been in a lot worse condition than we are. I'd rather we were able to sell tickets and stuff like that, right? But it could have been a lot worse, right? They could have just froze the club, and we would have just been thrown out the league and expunged our records and everything, right? Let's not overplay this government thing, because Boris Johnson isn't that clever, right? And he isn't that efficient, okay? He's got what he wants out of it. So let's leave the government out of it. In regards to people going to court and stuff, they haven't got a leg to stand on, have they? They've all been given what needs to be put into their bid. If they haven't put something in their bid and their bid's unacceptable, tough. Should have put in that's the whole point of having a checklist, isn't it? right? You're closing doors on silliness by going via courts. People are starting to overthink this a bit too much, right? There's too much overthinking going on.
You make a good argument there.
I just want to make one more point, right? I just want to make one more point. This John Terry thing isn't relevant until we know who the buyer is and whether he's relevant to the buyer. But one thing I will say, right, is that he's going to pay 250 million, right? It's not just him. It's not just Claire Rafferty. Everybody involved is supposed to be a Chelsea fan who's got money, okay? There could be other players involved as well. Now, the 250 million for the 10% can go towards the stadium, can't it?
So he has a great plan. I hope they accommodate him. Again, that will also, like Bobby explained, we'll have a good final representation on the board, on the Chelsea board. That will make a huge difference for us. And to you, Nick Blue, I don't know if you're still there. This brother right here, he's also on the panel. He says, I am American and a spiritual Christian. I don't want a Rickets family because of their sentiment against Islam. Chelsea is a very big family all over the world, and we don't want anyone to separate us. Yes, Chelsea is a very big family, diverse culture. They have very, very accommodating, no matter your religion or your culture, your color, it doesn't matter. But Nick, what do you think about this coming from this brother?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm always here. You know that. Yeah, because we're a big family, and we have to, stop. Well, we're talking too much politics at the moment. We have to concentrate on the club and the football, like Bobby was saying. Too much politics. We're not politicians, and we all try. Some of us are trying to be, which we're not. We're fans. We're Chelsea fans, and like that. For me, like I said, I think it might be the Saudis, but whoever comes in, the main thing they have to do is, go ahead and make rebuild the stadium, which Roman planned, and it's been accepted. Plans were accepted and everything, so it's already there to go. So put your money, where your mouth is. Don't just keep saying things, especially this America. I don't want that Tottenham fan anyway. Nowhere near. Keep the Tottenham lot out of it. That's for sure. And we don't want a Tottenham fan when we're playing Tottenham. It's going to be, who's he going to want to win? Chelsea or Tottenham? That doesn't make sense. That won't happen. And so we have to back our club, and we know Roman will just make the right choice in the end. I'll trust him with all my life. So that's what I say.
Okay, Bobby. Bobby. LSC, coming back to you. This coming from this brother. What do you have to say about it?
Okay, now wanting the Rickets family. Okay. Yeah, there are some
we don't
players,
want any Americans and we don't want any Tottenham fans. That's for sure.
Again, if we're speaking, let's say, I think it's better to use the word "I," because that's all. Some people want them. And even me as an American, I don't really want an American owners. But if it comes down to choices,
Couch, because you know what it's about. That's why.
Yeah, if it comes to choices, I'd prefer Boehly over the Rickets for personal reasons. So you go ahead, LSG.
Yeah, that comment, is really, really sad anyway. But apart from that, I have other reasons not to want the Rickets because they are not really good. Initially, they might put in money just to, bring the fans closer, and then it's game over, The Todd Boehly one, they're giving me like a Brentford vibe, talking about not blowing up the budget, working with sensible data. That's already telling me that, when we're not here, we're here to make money. That's just code word for that, okay? So with regards to the comments, I think players like, Rudiger, Kante, Malansa, they won't be comfortable after hearing things like that, So I think that's why, we should keep him away. Whether he made the comments or not, this is the internet, people people can blow anything, anything associated with the right is a problem right now, so maybe one day the Overty window will shift and people's perspective will shift as well. And some of the things that is going on now, people will be, the people involved now, the people that are pushing this insanity right now, yeah, we'll see what will happen then, So they are normalizing a lot of, government restrictions, a lot of, government fascism, in the name of football rivalry. So we just have to pray that we'll come out strong at the end of this. I'm just so thankful. And the reason a lot of fans are not, we are not feeling the pain right now is because we are winning on the pitch. Just imagine we lose. If we lose right now, yeah, I guarantee you, yeah, it's going to be front page for a whole week, So, and we know we don't like to lose as a fan base. We don't like to lose. So let's just pray we keep winning. Otherwise, everything will just get extremely flammable. So we should be hopeful.
I think that's a great input right there. I'll come back to you quickly. Do we still have Bobby around or he's gone? I think Bobby is gone. Stav, I'm gonna come to you. You haven't told us of all the beaters left, which of them do you think will make it to the final phase? Nick, you can go ahead and talk to us. It looks like we've lost a Stav again. Nick, are you there?
No, I'm still here.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
Stav,
here. Go, Stav.
Okay, go ahead, Stav.
I don't really want to say which four because I don't know who else has bid. We're just at the hands of the media, right? And each level of media has its own favourite because, like I explained to you yesterday, right? If their favourite wins, they start getting the exclusivity, right, to news and stuff from the club, right? There could be really good offers that we don't even know about, and I always
and the bidders could be up in their bids.
Yeah, and the thing is, we have said all along that the ones who make the most noise are not necessarily the best bid, right? The ones who like to conduct their business out in the open. Now, this is why I'm not taking much notice of Boehly at the moment. There's no way he's going to be the owner by the Brentford game. That's like 12 days away, right? He's just using his marketing executive to make him look good. Doesn't mean that Roman wants him, right? It doesn't mean he won't, right? And the media thing that he doesn't want Americans might not be true either. Okay, so
it could be absolute nonsense.
I don't want to name four because I don't know who else has bid. Right, there could be someone out there who's bid, right? Who's real Chelsea, has got a good consortium together, right? Roman might even know them, right? And they just haven't bothered making it a big deal or making big noise about it. Remember what Thomas Tuchel's favourite thing is? He doesn't like the noise, right? We don't want to be engulfed by the noise. So I don't really want to go into it unless I know who everybody is. All I know is by tomorrow, Tuesday at the latest, there'll be 3 or 4 groups who will then get announced, and then we'll start seeing a better picture of what they've bid and how strong they are, and things like that. As it stands, if you're talking about the ones we know about, the Saudis, the Koreans, even though people don't want Nick Candy, they might kick Nick Candy into touch, right? And possibly the 2 Americans. I think the one that's mostly out is that Matthew Broughton and Seb Coe, because questions have been raised against Seb Coe that he's got links to an oligarch. So the Chelsea have been warned apparently not to go for for that bid because of Stepco's connections to an oligarch. But I'm not going to name who I think is going to win it or who I think has got the best. Right now, I'm open to everything and everybody. I just want to know what they're gonna offer, right? I hope that whoever it is does take John Terry on board as well, right? Because 10% doesn't give you a big influence, but it does give you
it's just representation for the fans.
A chance to advise the owners what's a good way to go. It's the same thing at Newcastle United. You've got the main one's the Saudi family. Then you've got Amanda Staveley. I think it's 70%, 20%, and the other guy 10%, who was expressing an interest with getting something together for Chelsea, but he's not allowed to because of his connections at Newcastle. And the Saudis said to him, there's no way you can leave. So I don't want to just name. I'm not going to name a preference either. I don't have a preference right now.
Okay. LSG, how about you? This comment on the screen says the Athletic reported yesterday that there's another golf prince that bid on Chelsea. That's a possibility because staff here has established, those that make the most noise aren't really those that you could argue are not the front runners. I believe that probably those that are put in the bid that we don't know about. So what do you think? That brings to mind this comment on the screen from Uchiha. So what do you think, LSC?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility, a golf prince, that's very vague, I heard about it yesterday, but that's a very vague description. Where could it be the king of Bahrain? Could it be the king of Brunei? Where Kuwait? So I don't know. Could be any of these states.
Nick, go ahead.
There was originally, right, a link to a guy in Egypt, and he denied it. Right, that they're rich. Maybe he just wants to do his business quietly. He's supposed to be a Chelsea fan. And I think there was someone in Qatar, who's a Chelsea fan as well. Right, so maybe they just want to do their business quietly.
Possibly, possibly. Do you have anything to add to that, LSC, before I go to Nick Blue?
Yeah, I heard of that Egyptian billionaire, before. That guy is stupidly rich. I think close to 90 billion, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and you can imagine that kind of person wouldn't want that much publicity, even if they're interested.
And it will be a single owner, So, and he's a Chelsea fan. He loves the club. So, I just praise him. Honestly, that's a game changer, bro. Honestly.
So we could eventually see some surprises.
Yeah, it's possible. Anything is possible. We just have to wait, for the new week. To see what happens. I'm sure that by Friday, something will come up. But they want to drag this stuff to the summer. That's what I've been reading on Telegraph and all that. They want to drag this stuff to the summer, which is not good for us.
No, I do not think the club would allow it to drag. I think Romana will make a choice.
The club want a quick process, but they want to drag it. That was why I made mention of the court case, because they made mention of the court case. They said that the losing bids could sue, You understand? So that was what I was like, how. So
it'll be done by the end of April.
Okay, that would be good. That would be some. That would do us a lot of good. Yeah. We don't want it to drag on because it's hurting us. If you want to add something quickly, because I want to welcome. Stop. Tell me again if I pronounce it correctly. I want to welcome Pierre to the panel. Pierre, welcome to the panel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Crystal clear, brother. Did I say your name correctly?
It's Pierre. Yes, it's Pierre.
Yeah, thank you. So Stav, I win.
Yeah, if I
take it, Pierre. It's not Pierre. The plonker.
Can I make my point? Because I'm going.
Before Pierre says something, Can I just say something quickly?
1 second, please. Nick says he want to go. He can say something and we can bring Per in. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, my final words today is, everyone to stop with all this nonsense and political talk, because it's all rubbish. And don't listen to the media, not to the Telegraph, not to Daily Mail, not to no one, because they don't know fuck all about it. Sorry for swearing,
Yeah, please, let's watch the language, please.
Yeah, sorry about that, Coach. Yeah,
no problem.
And
go ahead.
Look, like I said, I've been saying it for weeks. There could be someone who we don't know about, and Roman does know. We don't know for sure, so we have to stop speculating every day, every night, because all we do is speculating, like the media. So we're no better than the media, really. So just stop speculating and back your team and go out there and shout Roman Abramovic's name like we should all be doing, not talking all this nonsense. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you very much, Nick. I hope to see you again for another Blue Money show tomorrow. And I still think we'll have an open panel as long as it's this discussion. It is bigger than what just two people will continue to talk about. Pierre, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, I basically came online.
You wanted to say something.
Online.
Welcome to the panel, brother.
Yeah, it's about Todd Boehly, really, because, I know there's been discussions about, obviously, his marketing and stuff, but he has actually published or revealed most of what he is promising for the fans. So it might be an addition. I'm not going to mention his backers, but he has got an Iranian US citizen as well, which is part of his group, which is his assets are worth 60 billion on top of their...
Whose group are you talking about, Pierre?
Todd Boehly, who's potentially the favourite here. So what he is, there was talk about the Liverpool use of data. That is true. One of the people he's brought on board is Daniel Finkelstein, who was a former Times columnist and former advisor to David Cameron, and is a lifelong Chelsea fan since the 70s, a bit like Barbara. But Finkelstein, in his columns for the Times, etc., was involved with football, and he brought up something called the think tank, back in 2002, and a statistician, which one of the people that was hired, Liverpool picked him up. And yes, that's the talk about the fact that Chelsea wants to try and use data to actually establish which type of players they should be buying. But what he has promised is he's promised a bigger role for the Chelsea pitch owners group. And he wants them to have bigger say in accepting or not accepting certain decisions. He has also got someone on board called Tracy Crouch as part of this fan-led review. He's talking about redeveloping the stadium in stages, so it will be. That's why he's got Jonathan Goldstein involved, but he wants to do it in stages, so it's a gradual redevelopment, so that people won't have to be away from the actual ground for long periods of time. He's also stated that they would never join the European Super League. That's something that's apparently said here, that he accepts the difference between these sort of American leagues where you cannot be promoted and relegated, and has promised that. And though it says here at the end that no new owner will adopt the Abramovich's approach of burning money to buy success, it does state that, with his he did actually undertake box office recruitments with A-list signings for the Dodgers back in 2012. So that's really what it's talking about. That Rickets bid is mentioned here, but Todd Boehly is the favourite. The Rickets bid has gone further on the actual ground redevelopment. They promised over £1 billion to redevelop the ground, and they've actually actively contacted both the project manager and the architect involved with the plans that were approved for Roman Abramovich. So they seem to have put in plans there. And I do appreciate there's lots of hatred towards the Rickets, but it does constantly say here that the children have distanced themselves as much as possible from their father's comments, and does say that they do a lot for the Chicago Muslim community to try and make up or build bridges that were burnt by their father's comments, and that he's got. So I mean, I can appreciate people don't want that, but the Rickets bid, but the children who are leading, who are involved in the bid, are basically saying that they have no association, or don't want to be associated with their father's comments. And my viewpoint is, it's almost like saying, if you were the child born to Adolf Hitler, does that mean that you can't ever be forgiven for your father's mistakes?
Wow. Pierre, I think that's a great comment, because the first question I asked on this panel, the first that we talked about the Rickets issue, while the fans are calling for the club not to be sold to them, was what if they argue that the comment was made by their father and not them? And you've explained that to us, because it's good to always have background to whatever it's going on in the world around you before you make decisions. Don't just make decisions based on surface level information. I think. So I'm coming a bit. I think you made a great argument by letting us know how much they've done for the Muslim community in their hometown, and also how they've distanced themselves from their father, and also using the Hitler example, that because Hitler was a bad man doesn't mean all his children will be bad people. But then again, you have to understand we live in a world where this type of thing is usually very difficult to sweep under the rug. And let me not call it sweep under the rug, to be forgotten. That's why the internet is so bad, because it's out there. And I just hope every other person will see it the way you see it, and then listen to your explanation on why it's important we look beyond that. I'm open-minded, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately, and because they're well equipped too. But what you said about Boehly and his group, it's really appealing to me. I'm into data, and I understand how important data can be in decision making. If you rely on data before making decisions, you make good decisions almost every time. Bobby, you wanted to say something, and Pierre, again, thank you for that great input. But I'll also come back to you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that what Pierre has said. I mean, I only learned and saw the alleged, and I'll use that word sort of carefully, statement by the Rickets family, or whoever it was on the Rickets team, about, I think they said something about Muslims, and it was abhorrent. Most definitely it is abhorrent. But you see, we are in such a virtue signaling PC frenzy. There's this real, ultra left wing, woke, that in itself is intolerant, and it's almost as excessive as the people they point their fingers to. Now, I'm not saying that I would be in support of anybody that is affiliated with anything that could even be mentioned as racist. But what I am saying is that this is the concern I have with too much fans' involvement in this, because people are coming in mindlessly. They're coming in, flinging accusations left, right, and center. Why? Because the template has been set by, what's happened in the first place. So it's like, okay, because of what's happened in the first place, if you are, if your next door neighbor was Jack the Ripper, you're Jack the Ripper. If you, all this mindless accusation, mindless judging, and it makes me very, very uncomfortable, and I don't think it should be part of the remit. I think if you have blatantly done something which is a violation or to human rights, or which is racist, or of the like, then of course it disqualifies you. But if you are said to be affiliated with somebody who is said to be racist, or accused of this, or that doesn't come into it. Now we're getting silly. Now we're getting all up in our own feelings about things. And, this is the danger of putting it out there for people to have too much of an opinion before it happens. the way I see this all going right now, I understand there are bids that we don't even know about that are more than qualified to do this job. And if I know Roman, I can see two things happening here. Either one of those unknown bids becomes the preferred bidder, or we have someone like Todd Boehly become the preferred bidder. It's not my choice, but it just seems to be going in that sort of direction.
Yeah, great input right there. Again, I think the best way for us to, should I say, express our, see the whole Rickets family thing is we should learn not to charge, person A because of what person B did, and that's especially true in the civilized world where you cannot be, be held responsible for what your parents did or what your brother did. But then again, we must understand that this will go a long way in deciding who becomes the new owner, although nobody's going to come out and say it. They've started, and again, there's something Bobby said, I forgot how he phrased it, about something about the media world or the digital world. It's been everywhere how that is going to unsettle the dressing room, how that's going to unsettle the Muslim contingents at Chelsea. Whether we like it or not, it gets to the ears of those that are involved in the selection process. And it will most definitely, it wield some influence on how they make their decisions. But I get your point, and I think because I think we should learn also to be open-minded and not to judge one person because of what the other person said. Again, that being said, whatever has happened is not something that's going to be, that is those that are responsible for selecting the new owners will look beyond, because they're going to think about how it will affect the club, and whether we like it or not, it will play in the minds of those at the club, except if the players themselves educate themselves on what the Ricketts family have also done for the Muslim community in the immediate community in the US and how they've distanced themselves from their father. But it's a difficult ask. Coming to you, I'll come to you, Stav, very soon. Let's see, what do you think about that great input from Pierre?
Yeah, it's all good. Whoever comes in, I pray they don't just feed us for the first year and then, we're now basically being run like Brentford. So that's my fear, So the Ricketts family, I think they are partnering with Ken Griffin, because the Ricketts family on their own, I don't think they are rich enough to buy Chelsea. So they are partnering with someone else.
Kevin Griffin.
Yeah, Kevin Griffin.
Net worth is around 26 billion.
Dollars. That would be 20 billion pounds or thereabouts. So I don't know how it's gonna plan out. At the end of the day, we're in a desperate position right now. And I just hope the club make the best choice. So I think we should stop worrying ourselves this time now. Because it's getting so tiring.
It is exhausting. It is exhausting, and I think it goes. I think it is like that with every true Chelsea fan. Before I come back to you, Pierre, I'm going to ask Stav, what do you think about input from Pierre? Are you still there, Stav? Yeah.
Yeah, me. I've already responded to that in a way, because I said that I'm not going to take any bid at face value or take anything that's come from the media. I don't have a preference. I've stepped back from having a favourite because I don't know what their offer is. I don't know what their input into the club's going to be, all that kind of stuff. For now, I'm just going to wait. See, like I said, see which 3 or 4 come out, and then more and more of what they're planning to do will become obvious, because that's when the club are going to know. The club already know right? They already know. Raine already know, right? By tomorrow, Tuesday, it'll come to light. We're all going to know more. Like I said, there was two other potentials mentioned publicly, but very briefly, and the Egyptian guy distanced himself from it very early on, but maybe he just likes to deal quietly. All I can say is Egypt's very, very close to Israel, where Roman is, so who knows? Maybe he knows them as well. He was a Chelsea fan, and I'm pretty sure there's one in Qatar or the Emirates somewhere over there in that direction. And we don't know. There could be other British ones. There could be other American ones. My only misgivings about American ones, right, is that
specifically
are they going to come in with this?
Can you talk about the Rickets specifically and the situation? The whole story.
Well, like, I don't know. How long ago it was he said it? You know, like Pierre said, you can't like just tar them all with the same brush, but it's still gonna
it's Pierre, not Pierre.
No, you call him Pierre, not me, mate. You're the one who calls him Pierre. Can I just say that this is the first time I talked to Pierre a lot via Facebook. This is the first time I've heard his voice, and I didn't realise he was so upmarket. Nice one, Pierre.
I was born in Chelsea, that's why.
Well, there you go, see. Right. Then you went to school there as well. So
to school behind the stadium, behind Stamford Bridge, London Oratory School,
So I don't want to read too much into any single individual bid. If the Saudis were going to come in and he was worth 15 million, maybe I might get a bit more excited about it. But then you've got to look at who else is coming in on the bids as well, not just the person who's fronting it. So I'd just rather wait now, see who the selected ones are. Trusting Roman and Marina, even Bruce Buck, right? Because it's going to go from Raine to Bruce Buck and Marina to Roman, right?
Yeah, so that brings to mind, Stav, if you don't mind. And I want you to come in here because Stav have explained something I wanted to hear from him. Pierre, then I'll go to Bobby, and then LSG. Pierre, we've known all this while that Roman will be involved in the sale. He has the final say, basically, as we're told. And if that's true, and Stav just explained after the selection process, Bruce Buck and Marina and those representing Chelsea in the process will also come in. So why are we even worried who becomes the owner? Is it lack of us not trusting those that represent us there that they will make a good decision? Why are people still worried?
I think what it is, it's not so much people are worried as such, Coach. It's a talking point. Fans are exercising their rights to have
because
an opinion.
Just quickly, I have a poll here that says 55% say yes, they're nervous, and only 45. It's almost 50, almost half of it. 44% said no, they're not nervous, but 56 says they're nervous about the whole situation. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to be nervous about what you don't know. And what you don't have any control over. And, all the negative publicity, Chelsea fans have been through a lot, and they just want a harmonious, progressive deal that sustains the club in the pathway of success, sorts out the stadium issues, pins down long contracts to certain individuals. So, of course, they're going to be nervous. I think all those things are a criteria anyway, but they're going to be... I mean, nervous that, you didn't really give them much choice with the poll. I did the poll myself, and I answered, no, I wasn't nervous, because I don't think nervous should have been the descriptive word. As such, I just think they are maybe a little anxious, maybe a little I wouldn't even say concerned. They're just curious and hopeful of a good outcome after all we've been through. The issue here now is, as fans, I've lost my trend of thought now. What was your initial question to me? I've lost.
Question was about why are people concerned? Why are people? Yes.
That's it. I think as fans, we discuss things. There's, we have a game. We discuss before the game. We discuss after the game. It's part of of what we love. It's part of our hobby. It's part of our being fans.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big topic. Are they concerned? Yeah, a little bit. Why is it being discussed so much? Because it's topical. It's out there. It's still up in the air. It's available for discussion. It's not like when Roman bought the club and, nobody really knew the ins and outs of the sale. Nobody knew when the sale was happening. We didn't even really know if it was up for sale. That was done very much in the quiet. So fans didn't really have much to think about. But this has been thrown into our face. Fans have had to go through a bereavement process, if for want of a better word, ripping us away from Roman, who has been there with us as a fan and an investing fan for about 20 years is a difficult, hurtful thing for all Chelsea fans, not to mention those invested in the club and earning a living through the business of the club. So it's definitely going to be talked about. I don't know if it's as much anxiety or as part of dealing with the grief of Roman leaving and part of hope that this doesn't cause us further problems. Because until it's done, the club is still at a knife's edge. And perhaps that's where more of the concern is than the whole bidding process.
Just quickly, I'll come to you, Pierre, with a question, but I want to go to LSG. This comment on the screen. Thank you very much for that great input, by the way, Bobby. I appreciate that. All directions lead to that the government will block the Saudi bid. Is that even possible, LSG?
Yeah, we don't have any evidence for that. If anything, it will be the Premier League that will be making some noise about that. So on the issue of the Rickets family earlier on, Bobby made mention about of wokeism and all of that, has been a trend now, and a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. And I believe when 9/11 happened, all right, there was a lot of sentiment, negative sentiment towards Islam, and you can see in talk show hosts, TV programs, it was perfectly acceptable to hate on Muslims, So probably that was when this Rickett guy made the comments, and it was
their
acceptable.
father.
Yeah, their father. That was when probably made the comment, and it was acceptable. But now the Overty window shifted, and it's no longer acceptable. So anyone now jumping on the Russian hate without understanding what is really going on should be very, very careful on what they say.
On that last point you just said there, I can understand you going about 9/11, etc. But 9/11 happened quite a bit before the comments. I mean, I'm reading here when the father made the comment. He made the comment in 2012. That is quite a considerable number of years after 9/11.
9/11 was an 01.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though it was 2012, all right. So you can see. Let's look at the media landscape. All right, in America, for example. So there are parts of the media that still have that sentiment towards Islam. So it's really possible for him, being an old man, an elderly man, to have such views. So you can't really blame people like that, So
yeah,
I'm not excusing what he said. I'm not excusing what he said. I'm just saying that, we should be careful. Whatever is trending right now, as long as it's directed toward a specific set of people, we should be very careful on what we say.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument right there. So, Pierre, coming to you, before I ask you this question, I want to know: do you have a good understanding of the structure of the selection process?
When you talk about the selection, I mean, I think we all know what the selection is. A number of bidders have put their bids in. We don't know the final number. There will be many that we won't know. And as Stav has said plenty of times, that will be reduced to about 3 or 4 by early next week. We would hear. All I know roughly is what the media in the UK is putting down as the front runners. They've got Boehly as the favourite, but Rickets is down there, and obviously the two that they've got the most information on the actual plans are Boehly's, obviously with his PR from Barbara and stuff, has revealed the most and tried to win over the fans by making promises about getting them more involved, etc. But so there's lots of things I like on his bid. Obviously there's people like Jonathan Goldstein, as a Spurs fan, I'm not so keen on. But there's lots of things he says which are positive. I do resent about the fact of copying the Liverpool, because if he's bringing in a Chelsea fan who came up with this think tank data, it's really something that Liverpool stole from a Chelsea fan in the first place, of bringing these data statisticians and trying to determine out players. But what I do like about the Rickets bid, and that's not to say I don't know much about the Rickets family, but sort of see that the children that distance themselves from the father and building bridges with the Islam community, etc., in Chicago. But what I do like about that is that between his bid and Todd Boehly, their commitment to building a 60,000 capacity stadium and talking to the architect that was involved with Roman Abramovic already, and also it says here they've spoken to the project director, David Hickey, and already coming up with a figure of £1 billion plus. Sounds more desirable to me than build it or redeveloping Stamford Bridge with no mention of what the figure will be, and doing it in stages, which is what Todd Boehly's doing, which is likely to be cheaper and probably not as satisfactory as the Rickets bid. That's just my personal view.
Great input right there. And a follow-up question for you: which of the the plan of all the groups you have good understanding of, which of them do you think will do us good?
Well, at the moment, I only can see the plans of the Rickets family and the team Boehly. I would think that on the Rickets side, the one thing that these bits of pieces, that all it says is they've gone through due diligence and go on about their backing and various other things. The ground redevelopment appeals to me, but I don't know much else about what their plans are. I know a lot more about Todd Boehly's plans because it's mentioned here what he said, and he's probably just been a bit more better at putting his ideas out there and trying to appeal to the fans. I'm not keen on the Rickets association with Donald Trump as well. So that's the fact that they have a close tie with Donald Trump, as it says here. What worries me is that the Saudi media group bid is supposedly being made, but no details whatsoever what their plans are. So I would want a bit more information, because at the moment, without any information and without any indication of what they plan to do with the club and Stamford Bridge, you've got to then say that at least I know what the American bidders are planning. Again, I don't know much about the two British bids either.
Can I ask a question, please, if I may interject just really briefly? I'm confused. I mean, what and why is an American's association with Donald Trump more of a problem than an American's association with Joe Biden? I mean, exactly. I'm just confused. You see, this is the danger of fan involvement. I know that fans can't be involved, fans' involvement in this sort of thing, because it then gets subjective and their own personal politics comes into it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And on that note, every single multi-billion businessman or industry located in a country must have dealings with its government. It's only common sense. So I'm confused. You know, even this Saudi group. Yesterday, I was on a platform where it was proved that in order for them to even operate, they needed to have about a 60% government involvement. That is how that system works over there. So this person knows this
if I can
person,
comment,
this
here's the thing
person
about
knows
the
this
Saudis
person
on, and
because they're
again,
not flavor of the month. It's disturbing to me. It really is.
yeah, and I think we should all just, as much as we can, we should try to avoid a mix in politics with what we're talking about here. But that's, by the way, I think I understand Pierre's comment, and I also understand Bobby's comment. But here's the thing about the Saudis: the statement that say they have the statement, if we pay attention, said they have no direct ties to the Saudi government. It then specifically said they do not have any ties with the. So we should have paid attention to that in the first place. And on the Blue Morning show, we talked about that the statement did not specifically say they don't have any ties. It just says they do not have direct ties. So we must be careful what we read. But that's, by the way, Clyde, are you still on the panel here?
Good morning. How's everyone
Good morning to you. I haven't seen you in a while. So before we switch to the final segment of the show to round up, because we've streamed past 2 hours now, Clyde, what's your take on the whole situation? You have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I hate most of these bids. The Saudi is the only one that I kind of see some normality, to be honest, because the Saudis aren't going to care
about. How is that?
Because the Saudis are going to come in, and as you've seen with other different groups, and just continue what's going on, and try improve sponsors, have more trust in Tuchel, but they'll trust in the system that Roman left it in. The Boehly already talked about, I'm going to come in, we're going to put data systems, and we're going to do this and that. He's just talking so much. Bro, the guy doesn't know nothing about football. He doesn't know nothing. And he's already talking about Liverpool. We're going to get the Liverpool model because that's another American successful team. But no one knows that the SSG used to have made so many mistakes. And once they found Klopp is when they started winning. Not whatever stats man they got didn't pick up Charlie Adams, Andy Carroll. They bought Balotelli. Even Werner was on their stats man, and we were the full team that picked him up before Liverpool. But Werner could have been that Liverpool and with the same issues. Liverpool just got lucky. So if he's going to come here and turn us into a data team, that means he's going to undo all the good work that is here, and he has no idea about football. Where Chelsea model, right, and what the state of Roman left it in, even though he had to put money in, we're still successful. We've got academy players. We won so many trophies over the year. So whatever we did cost more, but was way more successful with trophies than the Liverpool model. Not envious. They just got lucky. They pillaged Southampton and Watford for all their players.
Yeah.
Salah turned out way better than he was, right? So it's just a small period of luck, and that's why they're successful at the moment. But people forget that the Fenway Group has been here for 11 years, and Liverpool have just been successful now. So when Boehly comes in and says he wants to do the same thing as them, he's out. And then also the point you guys touched in, and everyone applauded, the Rickets family. Why should the kids be judged by their dad? They should be judged. You know why? Because that's where they got his money. Because if Roman said, well, I'm just going to sign Chelsea to my son, you think everyone would just forget everything that's been said about Roman Abramovic? Do you think they'll just go, okay, yeah, well, the son shouldn't be judged? Is anyone going to forget? You guys, the Rickets family is judged by the whole family because of how they got everyone. They got their money from the dad anyway, so all of them should be judged, and that's where the money comes from. And he probably still has an influence over their family. So to say I separated, yeah, so that's how I feel. If they still want to mend bridges, that's great, but the money still comes from the statement of the dad, so he still has the influence. They didn't break off and make their own fortune, so that's how that's judged. And
we're all entitled to our opinions. Everybody would do things differently. Somebody could listen to you and say, yes, this guy is stuck in what I like. But I understand your point, and also I understand Bobby's point. And again, I want to thank Perry to mention that, because we shouldn't judge one person for what the other person does. Again, I understand where you're coming from, and we're all entitled to our opinions, and that's why we're here to try. We try to be as objective and not subjective as much as we can. Bobby, I want to ask you a question about the Clad's impute from the aspect of who's trying, one of the groups trying to copy the Liverpool model. What do you have to say about that? Is it a concern to you, or do you think it's no problem?
It's a concern because Chelsea has never, historically, even before Roman came, Chelsea is not a copying club. We don't copy people, people copy us. We always set trends rather than imitate trends. I don't look at the Liverpool model as particularly successful. I just think, just like everyone else, that they have got lucky and their success is not robust. Whereas Roman's success was robust. You could see that what he did with the academy has a system that could sustain Chelsea with players for the next 10, 20 years. A lot of our reduced need to bring in players from the transfer market was as a result of having such a successful academy. So there's a lot of good in the Chelsea blueprint. It can be improved upon, and that's what I want to be seeing more than hearing the new owners do. Come and improve upon what's there. We don't need to copy anyone else. So that is problematic to me, that they'll be looking to even do that. And I think Declared is right. That shows a lack of knowledge in football. And you see, this is why people have this bias against American owners, because they don't exude the culture. They don't understand football culture, whereas Arabs do. Most people from other continents do, because they love football as much, and they're as crazy about football as we are. Whereas to the Americans, football is a secondary sport. Football to the Americans is what basketball is to us. It's just one of those sports, and nobody really gets passionate about it. And that is the problem people have with American owners. To me, listen, I don't care where you come from. Just come in, be of acceptable background, and love Chelsea, and try to just take it forward, because the owner that has left this foundation for you has put you on such a wonderful pedestal. I mean, the people buying Chelsea, it's not like the people that bought Liverpool, or the people that bought Newcastle, or the people that bought even Man City. You are buying a prime product, a product that is already holding the World Club Trophy and our current European champions. You're buying the best. So you have an opportunity. You're not buying some team you're trying to save. You have an opportunity to build on this and become even better. And I think that's what fans are looking for. And that's why people like Nick Candy are making the noises he's making. He knows what we want and what we need. Whether he can deliver it with his consortium that looks a little bit chaotic to me, and I wonder how they can actually form a smooth operation, with a little bit of someone from here, a bit of someone from there, a bit of someone from there. It just seems weird to me. But, I don't have sight of his bid. I don't have sight of the evidence he's put forward. I would be surprised if he's amongst the last four. Basically all I have to say on that.
Yeah, before this input from the Clad and your addition to it, I was all for, thinking, but if you look, thinking about the Liverpool module and how well they've done, it didn't even occur to me that it has not been for a stretch of time. It's just a patch at this point. Stop coming to you, your take on the plan to copy the Liverpool module.
I'm trying not to laugh. No chance. I don't want no Liverpool model. I don't want any Tottenham model. Don't want an Arsenal model. And I don't even want a Man United one, right? Because Man United was a model because of Ferguson, okay? And because he was given the freedom. The Arsenal model used to be Wenger, but Wenger outgrew the situation and wasn't good enough anymore. One thing I want to say that hasn't been mentioned, declared that touched on it a bit, right? Roman's son, Al-Khereiji, has also been sanctioned, so he couldn't give him the club because they obviously sanctioned him to stop that happening. So just so we understand that the possibility would have been to pass the club on to him, right? But anybody
he would have done that. He would have done that in a heartbeat, preferably.
Yeah, but he's been sanctioned as well. Okay. I don't want anybody else's model. I'm okay. Listen, I mean, I'm okay with Roman's model in general, right? He's built up a successful academy. He's built up a successful women's team. We've become a successful senior team. So I don't have a problem with the way it's gone, right? I know you do because you think that managers should get longer, or coaches, if you prefer, should get longer.
You're looking for my trouble now. Don't misquote.
No,
I will explain what I said.
I'm not.
But go ahead. Go ahead, Sav. Go ahead.
The fact is, he's delivered. Right? He's delivered. At the end of the day, we're the most successful club in the last 19, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's sustained success, right? Not winning. I'd like to have won a couple more league titles. I believe we would have won it in 2007, right? And possibly gone on to a couple more, but that's an issue we've already debated. But I don't want to hear anybody talking about they're going to do it the way someone else is doing it, right? Without Klopp, Liverpool would still be a load of rubbish. Simple as that. Right? And
I get your point. Go ahead if you have something more to say.
And they've spent money. That's not. He can say he wants to use a Liverpool model because he doesn't want to spend, but they've spent money. You're looking at one or two academy products, and some of them are only coming into the equation now. Right? We've got our three now. We've had Tamori, okay. We've had others, Gui and all these players, and now we've got Gallagher, we've got Gilmore, right? We've got Boya, and a few others. So I'm sorry, I don't want to copy Liverpool's. We've got a better academy than them and a better production line.
And that hasn't changed. I think we'll remain the best academy. We have the best academy. I think you could say globally. We produce more talent if you look around and even than some of the biggest clubs in the world. Alexi, do you have something to add to that before we go to the final topic? Do you have anything to add to that about us copying Liverpool or Manchester United, any other club?
I think the reason people are talking about the Liverpool model is just the bandwagon effect. All right, people are jumping on it. If we had won the Carabao Cup and we're top of the, above Liverpool right now, as Chelsea fan, nobody will hop on that bandwagon. Nobody will be talking about it. All right. So they're spending money. Is a Liverpool, model? Does that mean we have to start going to Southampton to go pick up their players? Is that the model where they are talking about here? We have the best model. We have academy. We don't even need to spend. I want Broja to be in the team next season. All right. I want Conor Gallagher to be there as well. All right. So I mean, what are they talking about? Chelsea has one of the best. We even have what is it called? I think we have our own supplement system. All right, that the athletes used. Yeah. Is it Blue something? Forgotten the name now.
Blue Fuel.
Yeah, Blue Fuel. All right. So we have our system. Tomosuko is happy with the system. He's happy with everything. So I don't understand what Boehly is talking about, bringing in a new system, bringing in new data. You see the problem? We want someone that is going to nourish what we already have, leave the system the way it is. You can
Build
get
on
rid
it.
of, yeah, you can get rid of Bruce Buck and the Ukrainian guy as well, because they have been totally useless in the whole process right now. All right. So
Again, you
we
must
need
say
some.
that's your take on that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, and we want someone that is going to come in, yeah, and make Thomas Tuchel a priority, long-term contracts, all right, and someone that will be willing, to commit to the existing financial structure in the club, in terms of payment for staffs, in terms for at all levels, all right. So we don't need someone that's going to come in here and then start reducing the wage, because we're going to start seeing players leaving, So we need someone that is going to come in and maintain the existing wage structure of the club, the existing financial obligations of the club, all right? Someone that is going to come in and preserve employment at all levels of the club, So that's how I have to say about that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And for the final stage of segment of the show, I think we've streamed for a long time now. It's just sometimes when you see some people, you can't end the show. You have to get them on and get the input. Declan, I'm starting with you. Whether we like it or not, some things will change at the club, no matter who gets. We'll be praying so they don't try to make a wholesome change and then create a problem or cause us to start from the basics. Declan, are you concerned that the culture of the club would change in a way that could become a problem for us? And if you think so, what area are you concerned that would change?
Yeah, of course I'm concerned. Just like I brought up the Boehly thing, where he thinks he has better ideas than what's going on now, and you got to take into account Roman's been here 19 years, and that's why we've been successful. The right people for the right job, a culture, family culture. If you ask a lot of ex-players that leave, they somehow get back and get involved, and there is that culture at Chelsea. Now, if that's why I want someone that's going to come in and not do much. Just try improve on marketing, give Tuchel more influence, and that's it. That's why I feel like the Saudis will do that, where everyone else thinks they got better ideas. They want to put fans on the board. Who are you going to put? Rory. I like his. No one likes his ideas, right? And he's part of the trust group as well. So that's just a bad idea. Who else are they going to put? Like these guys are just talking just to make people happy. What my biggest worry and the biggest culture is that that they want to put their own people in, and also none of these guys can afford the club properly. Even the Boehly Group are getting Goldman Sachs advisors, and they're going to put that loan on the club. No one's going to pay $2 billion straight up, and we're going to be stuck with the club's going to be stuck paying off that own loan. And that's how the Glazers bought the club. And that model is great. So anyone that's going to come in and think they can do better, they're going to sell the club's name, change people so they can get more influence in the club. Because if someone like Marina leaves, right, then there's a suction of power. Who goes there? If Bruce Buck leaves, and it's just a domino effect on who wants power and who wants where. And it can be a full breakdown. The best thing that can happen for the club is to stay as it is. Maybe one or two people come in. That's it. And that's it. And we just keep going because everything is working fine. We just won the champions of the world. We got and the team's not even in their peak yet. So I just want someone to come in, keep as is. And if someone has great ideas, right, thinks they have great ideas, and especially from the other side of the world, which, like Bobby said, their sport's not even big in their country, and even their big sports aren't big anywhere else in the world. And it goes to show how much they lack in the idea of the oldest sport and the world popular sport, most famous sport. So I think whoever comes in, the least they touch it, the better, and that's what I'm more worried about.
Yeah, if it's not broken, why fix it? You can only enhance it. I think you make a great argument there. Bobby, coming to you, are you concerned about the possibility of a drastic change in culture? If yes, what areas are you concerned about?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Are you concerned for new owners, the possibility of new owners implementing a drastic change in culture that could somehow scupper what they've achieved? So, destroy what we've achieved so far under Roman Abramovic instead of enhancing what's in place. Are you concerned that the potential of new owners changing things as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at this as pragmatically as I can. As I've said, Chelsea they're not buying a failing club that they're going to rescue. So it's not about really putting too much of their own ideas. It's just about continuing what has been created on the platform of success. And I think anybody coming in will be very mindful of failure. You see, because Roman has been is the benchmark now. So the only thing they can do for their own public interest and PR is to progress the club. I'm also trusting that Roman, after nurturing this club for 20 years, would do as much due diligence as is reasonably possible to ensure that the people taking over from him it'll be a pass the baton thing rather than just taking it, being people that would, handle it irresponsibly. So I'm quite certain, it's not easy. This will hurt him, losing his baby. But anybody in that position will want to leave their baby in good hands. I would like to give an analogy. As a kid, I had this Volkswagen Beetle. In fact, that was my first car. It was a unique Beetle. It was, for us here in the UK, having a Beetle like that was this sort of American style Beetle with the big tires and the sunroof. And, I loved that car. I treated that car better than myself for years. And eventually when I sold it, and I had to sell it for financial reasons, it was a very, very difficult thing for me to do. And I was careful who I sold it to, I have to confess. And eventually I found a guy who loved old sort of classic cars. And I knew he was somebody who would appreciate the car. So when I sold it to him, I did so missing the car. I don't know if I can use this as an example. People might be laughing at me, but this is real to me. I did so, with all the pain of detachment from the car, but also with a good feeling that it was going to the owner that I felt would do it justice. And so much so this, I would like to have faith that Roman, being the intelligent man he is, will choose carefully. Obviously, he can't see in the future. He won't know for sure, because you will never know until somebody actually owns the club what they're going to do with the club. But you can have a bit of an idea that, they would either handle it responsibly or handle it carelessly. And there aren't too many changes to be made at Chelsea. There's just progression.
Yeah, great input right there. I think you make a good sense. And I'm glad, most importantly, that he and some of the other Chelsea contingents are part of the selection process. And I think they will make sure they leave the club in good hands. Star, coming to you, do you have any concerns about possibility of drastic change in culture and how it will affect us?
The bosses in the US, shall we say, have this ideal that they know best, that they have the best of everything. They have the best leagues, they have the best this, they have the best that. Right? And yet they call themselves world champions when they're only playing amongst themselves. So I don't want any of that nonsense. Right?
Can you stop saying that to my face, please? Just go ahead.
It's true. So,
I understand. I know
so
what you're talking. Just go ahead. I know.
Who are
Just
the
go ahead.
world baseball champions?
I
Who are the
know.
world baseball? Right.
That was a shock. That was actually a shock to me when I first came to America. But go ahead.
Right. I don't want that nonsense. Okay. Without knowing, I wanna go back to the John Terry thing. Without knowing who else is involved, right? But if they're called True Blue, it's got to be people, whether it's more players, whether it's proper fans and people like that, right? They could do worse than take him on board, right? And take advice from them, shall we say, right? Because they're not going to have enough of a say in the situation. They can advise, okay? Bring me back to this football, this Chelsea Supporters Trust, okay? I don't care if they're Chelsea supporters, right? I don't trust them, right? That very word irritates me, right? Because the first thing they did when things came to light with regards to him handing over the ownership to the foundation or the stewardship to the foundation is they ran to Sky Sports like they were more important than the club. We want to know this. We want to know that. You're not important. You're not that important. You're not that important, right? I don't want the Supporters Trust being involved in anything, right? I don't want them involving because they put themselves first before the club. When the you know what hit the fan, they were more worried about themselves, that they needed to know this, they needed to know that, right? I knew that Roman was trying to find a way to keep the club safe, okay? Right? Now, I want to say one other thing. When Manchester City's owners spend all that money, right? When Newcastle's owners spend all that money, right? When the Glazers spend all that money, right? It's called an investment, right? You're investing and you're building. You must have heard the you got to speculate to accumulate, right? All this nonsense about debt, Roman's debt, right? It starts from day one that he took over the club. It included when he bought the club, right? The fee that he paid for it, right? The training ground, the academies, all this stuff. It's not debt. It's not a debt, right? It was put into loans so that he could get round and invest in his money without breaching financial fair play, right? It's not debt. So some people really need to get this out of their head that we're not a financially viable club. We are, right? We are. Okay? Just get that out of the stupid head. Some people need to get that.
All right, LSG, no, can we not please call people names? I understand. Maybe you're not happy about what somebody said. Can we please not call somebody names? Okay, Stav, I know how you feel. And I'll have Bobby answer a question from Bobby. Fairview, Bobby to Bobby later. LSG, any concerns about the possibility of drastic change in culture and how that might affect us negatively?
Yes, I have a lot of concern about that, actually, So, someone like, Thomas Tuchel, he doesn't want to get involved, in a discussion. We hear him in the press conference almost all the time. He doesn't want to get involved. He just wants to relate with Peter Cech, tell me what to do, but, let me focus on the pitch, So I don't know, maybe someone is going to come in and change the role from head coach to manager or something like that. I don't know. Maybe some people will come in and try to do too much. But I just believe, if they leave the structure the way it is, they have to. Marina is crucial. Thomas Tuchel, Marina, Peter Cech, very, very important. So if Marina leaves, I don't know who is going to handle all the complicated deals that we have, with these clubs, left, right, and center, with the academy. You understand? We still have a lot of players that needs to go. We still have a lot of players to make. So who is the best person in the world to do it? Marina just got the award, yeah? Is it not sometime last year or this year? She won the award, you know. So who else are you going to hire that will be better than her? So I don't see any point for her to leave, you know, in that regard, you know. So I'm just hoping that they make this very, very clear to them to say this is what we need. And in terms of Chelsea being viable, Chelsea is very, very viable. People complain about the football stadium and all of that, you know. This might sound controversial, but if we really want to help in this time, you know, a 45 to 50% increase in price, you know, in tickets can make up for 60% or, you know, 60,000 capacity stadium, you know. So if we have to
Did
bear
you
the
say
brunt, you know,
45% increase?
yeah, you know,
How
in
do you
ticket
think the
sales,
fans will react to that?
you know, that's the thing, you know, that's the thing. So, you know, so maybe the one that is £17 now, for example, can become maybe close to 25, 26 pounds or thereabouts, you know. Yeah, it all depends, you know. So if we can make that sacrifice for the club to make up for the 60,000 capacity before we get the new stadium, you know, so we can all be good, you know. So let them, you know, stop saying we are not a viable club and all of that, you know, just because there is a problem. The only problem we have is government-induced problem. It's not as if we are running into financial problems before now. Everything was running smoothly. All right. So
Yeah.
government decide to insert themselves. And
All right.
I have to agree with Stav concerning the Chelsea Trust Foundation. That was a real betrayal, in my opinion, you know, because Roman, that was the first decision, you know, he made. Had the media accepted it, I don't see how the government will be able to sanction Chelsea, you know, because he no longer has anything to do with it. It's hand over stewardship. That was the language he used. Stewardship over to this organization. But he said he started going to the media and saying also I was so disappointed when I read about it. You know, so that was the first stage of the problem. And the government got, you know, hold of it and decided to, you know, let's sanction this guy straight
All
away
right.
now, you know.
All right. Thank you very much, LSC. Great input right there. Bobby on the panel. This was the record that you. Any response from you for this? You want me to read it for you?
Yes, please, because I'm on a device that's not easy
Okay.
for me to.
Bobby Fairview says, Bobby realizes that we are not a profitable club. Romana is not a benchmark for ownership because there are very few owners that will write off 1.5 billion losses.
Okay, is that his point?
That's it. Yeah, you want me to read it again?
Well, you know, no, I understand that. You know, this is the thing. You know, this is the misunderstanding that when things are thrown to a fan base that comes out of it. What I was saying was that because of what Roman has done, because of what he has achieved, anybody coming in will be benchmarked by that. I'm not saying he is a benchmark of all owners. I think Chelsea Football Club ownership and business model is unique. It needs to be. There's no two clubs alike. You know, everybody wants to be, you know, the same. We always want to, oh, so-and-so's doing this. Oh, we should do this. Oh, we have this manager. Oh, we want him. You know, we always want what the Joneses want. We always want to do what the Joneses do, especially if it's successful. The beauty about Chelsea has always been that we don't do that. We have right from as far as I can remember and as far as you can read throughout Chelsea's history, we've always done it our way. We've always done it our way. We, in the 70s, when we went into financial problems and had to field the team through of youth and academy players, we decided to appoint an 18-year-old boy by the name of Ray Wilkins as the team captain. You know, we always did things differently. And what I'm saying is that any owner coming in cannot afford to not progress from where Roman left off. There's no point in him coming in or the group coming in and they're just getting by with, for example, extending players' contracts. or extending the manager's contract. No, they're going to have to build a stadium. You know, they're going to have to do things to progress the club in a significant way. Why? Because Roman has set that standard. And that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I think I get your point. Just build on what the standards that Roman has set. I understand, and thank you very much for taking some time to say that. And Stav, I think there's a response for you. I'm going to go to it. Please respond to it kindly. No throwing punches. Everybody will all have rights to our own opinion. Go to Chelsea store. Okay, that is just some comments here from the Queen herself. Street beer. So I'm going down to. Yep, he was talking about the supporters trust. They betrayed us. If from what I see on a surface level, I don't know the story very well. The staff here he says, hold on, our staff. His staff is saying it is no depth, but yet it had to be written up. Does he need a pillow to go with that dream? Are you there, staff? That's for you.
How many times have I got to explain this? Right? Do I really have to go and get some paper and crayons to explain to Bobby Fairview what I'm trying to say? Right? Do I need a blackboard or some chalk to explain what I'm saying? Right?
Okay.
It's a puppet.
Let me give you an example. Right? Dave Gibson from Middlesbrough, right, who we've just played, right? Going back to when they got promoted, he spent 60 million, right, on players, and he brought players to the club, right? And they got relegated after a couple of seasons. Was that a debt? Bobby Fairview, please listen now, because I'm getting fed up of repeating myself. The money, the 1.5 billion, was Roman's expenditure from day one, including the purchase of the club, the purchase of a training ground, a purchase of a second ground for the women and the under 18s and under 23s. It included 700 to 800 million, right, on players in the first 10 years of his tenure. It was put in as a loan via Fordham, the parent company, right, which Roman owns. Okay, so to get round financial fair play rules, right, and the league's financial fair play as well, right, it was put in as a loan. Okay, that's his expenditure. Now, he's got insurance on that, and he's probably going to get the insurance anyway, right? What we don't know, we'll never know regarding that money. But it's not a debt. 2 years ago, before COVID, we posted profits 2 years in a row. Okay? For 2 years in a row, we were posting profits. If that was a debt, the 1.5 billion, right, we could not post profits because that money would have had to go back to pay this magical 1.5 billion that Bobby seems to want to keep saying as a debt. It wasn't a debt. It's his expenditure. So when Man City spent, right, 800 million on players and they were pulled up by FIFA for financial fair play, they got off on a technicality. They spent that money, right, just like Roman did. The only difference is they didn't put it or quantify it as a loan, which was what got them in trouble. And they got found out that they were injecting cash into Etihad, the company, who then injected the cash back into the club. So they were overinflating loan deals, sponsorship deals, right? It's not a debt. How many times do I have to say it?
Right.
That's his expenditure.
Thank you for explaining that. Yeah,
hey,
thank
can
you
I
for
add on that too?
Declad, yeah, I wanted to come to you, Declad, and your input on that.
Yeah, because I agree with Stab. I think he's forgetting when Roman bought the club for 150, and now everyone's betting, 2 billion, close to 3 billion fire sale. I mean, if it was it's not even a valuation; it's higher than that. So what the club has done, the club ran at a loss because they wanted to run at a loss, right? Because we could. We bring in 400 mil annually. If we had a better stadium, we'll do that. Everything is in place, and we ran at a loss because it wasn't about making money. Now, you say we're not profitable. As soon as you get one of those owners that look at our books and doesn't want to spend money, we'll be profitable exactly how you want, Bobby, right? And Chelsea can be a profitable club straight away, but we ran at a loss because it wasn't about profit. That's why. That's why I feel if we get Saudis in, and then you see you see Man City and that, and a lot of, sporting clubs aren't meant to be profitable, like to compete, because there's other owners that don't want to make profit. And if if your competition doesn't want to make profit, and you're in there thinking about profitability, right, you're going to lose, because they got way more resources to expend. So that's the reality of it, and that's why we've been successful. Because we can run at a loss, and Roman did, and call it what it doesn't matter, Stav, what's it called, debt, loss, whatever. It was Roman set it up so he can clear it later, and it wouldn't fall on Chelsea, whatever it was. It was Roman's money. He made it out into a loan of debt, and he cleared it instantly. He didn't call it back. He didn't say that Chelsea was responsible for it, and that was the idea all along. So I don't know what Bobby's view is. Bobby Fairview, not the Bobby here, about trying to be profitable, because that's going to be great. And you know what? If we end up with one of these owners that talk the talk and then they come in, they're going to all of a sudden tell you there's no money because we've got to build a stadium, because they put the club's purchase on the club, and now all of a sudden we've got to repay, and they'll probably market the club, so they might bring more money in, but they'll kick more. And this is my biggest fear, because anyone can do this with Chelsea at the moment. Anyone that comes in with the wrong idea can all of a sudden make us a profitable club for themselves. They can put us on the stock market if they want to. Man, have you seen how many sponsors Man United has? They're triple time everyone else's sponsors. They've been marketed to hell. They've been on the stock exchange and everything, and that's why the Glazers take out money, because they brought in so much money. They've sold the hell out of Man United name, the brand, and and Man United brings so much money in that they take out money, right? And all just to keep the fans happy, they just buy every season a name player that the fans want. Ronaldo, Sancho, here. They don't even care. They don't care what they finish. They just buy it, keep the fans happy, and they pull out 200 mil every year. And that's what I have to say about that one.
Great input. It's a complicated subject. I'll come to you, Bobby. Let me just find out what LSE. Do you think it's a debt to you?
Not at all. Just like Star was saying, it's an investment, because we have to agree the state of Chelsea.
But I have to be honest to you and Star. So, because it's an investment, it can never be called a debt?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, why is Chelsea case the issue here? What we're talking about now happened in, is it Hull City? All right. The guy wiped out their debt of about 190 million or so. All right. Outrightly. Nobody mentioned that. So we're just looking at the sums that Mario has been spending now over a couple of seasons. They've been spending a lot of money, but nobody mentioned it because they are not winning. We spend, we win. We sack our managers, we win. All sort of things, unconventional stuff. So, and we win. There are a lot of people, a lot of clubs that have spent, that have even Arab owners that are not winning. So my concern is I don't want anybody to come in here and change our winning culture, because too much change is not good.
Yeah. Thank you. Bobby, coming to you. Do you think it's a debt or not?
Oh, the 1.5 billion?
Yeah.
It's not a debt. Stav has explained it, excellently. I mean, this is This has nothing to do with the issues of financial fair play. It was part of the investment, the initial outlay into the club. It was put into structural payments, things like the development of a new training facility in Cobham and so on. So all these wishful thinkers that are busy putting their mind on the demise of Chelsea through this situation, sorry, you're disappointed once again.
Just to add to, they are interest-free loans, yeah. When they're not like bank loans.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the difference? Like that's the difference. If you started getting bank loans and the repayments, and you get the bank involved, and you're gonna have to pay more back, that's a different story. We're talking about interest-free loans, and that's why you don't call them debts. It was a get around.
I'm just learning, man. I have to be honest, but it has to be noted that Bobby says here, between I am happy for Roman's ownership. I am saying there are a few billionaires left who will write off losses. So I think I understand this argument in that aspect. Okay, that's just, I don't want to start a fight here. New owners come in, carry on with the mojo that all he wants. I hopefully SMG are the new owners. Hopefully we will see in a few days. And I think with these, I think maybe read these, what does this brother say here? I am from Swansea City. We had a good run in the in the Premier League. Then I went downhill because US took over. Okay, that's scary. The Clad just made my point. They ran a loss because we had a great owner who was not for profit. We will need another owner who doesn't care if we are profitable. And the Clad is everywhere. He's in the chat also responding. I think with that, it's a Sunday.
Now, can I make one more point?
Yeah,
can I make one point?
I gotta go to church, but go ahead.
Yeah, can I make a point? Right?
Yes.
It's not a debt. I'm sick of saying it. Man City have invested $1 billion. No one's calling that a debt, right? Secondly, and finally, right, till I go blue in the face, right? The stadium was set to be developed, okay? Now it's been made a condition of somebody buying it. I said this the other day, and I'll keep repeating it. Match day income will treble by going up to a 60,000 capacity, right? There's your money coming in, making it viable and not reliant on an owner, okay? But owners are allowed to spend money, right? Within a certain limit, right? So the stadium was put in place. Bobby Fairview can keep talking, right? And talking about debt. It wasn't a debt. It's an investment. When I buy something, when I bought my house, right, it was an investment. It wasn't a debt.
Okay, that makes that I'm beginning to learn more. There's also some points to take from Bobby's argument.
And the stadium will turn things around.
Yeah,
right.
And thank you for explaining that. This brother here says South America, Chelsea Academy would be amazing. So Chelsea can receive a younger hidden talent. Yeah, thank you. And with that, I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat, from the Queen herself, Strip Beer, and also Just Viola, who was here. Everybody else who found time to participate. You provide great value to the stream. Thank you to Pierre, who was here, also came onto the panel. Everybody else, I just cannot say everybody's name. And I appreciate Bobby for finding time to join. I appreciate LSG. I appreciate Stav. I appreciate Declad. Thank you again for finding time to join us once more. With that, we call it a day. I say God bless us all, and we should continue to pray that the Russia-Ukraine conflict comes to an end. We must not forget that people are dying on a daily basis. That's important to be at the back of our mind. So with that, we've come to the end of the show. Again, God bless us all. And I hope to see you guys all tomorrow, same time, for another Blue Morning Show. Thank you, and bye.